can mute the other one so I don't have to hear reverberations. Okay, come on. Pop up, dude. Pop. Start. Come on, YouTube. There goes. There we go.
Hi, everyone. We're here to have a little review show.
And I need reviewed. And there's our review sidekick today, my cat Addie. Yeah, and I'm all slicked back today. I may end up going off camera again once it starts drying because if I don't do something with it when it's before it dries, it'll be wind therapy. But yeah, I'm gonna wait a little bit before we really get into the what we're doing. Actually, I guess he's already got it on YouTube. Sorry, we're doing the Kent Hovind versus Aiden Linden. The topic, I believe, is cosmic evolution. I haven't seen this, so I glad I picked this one to have something to do. Do. It was either that or listen to Mod, trying to get you to believe in evolution. No, not in this review show. We're here for fights, barroom brawls, drinking, and misogyny. Not really, but it was a thought.
Guess who's here? This little guy. Hi, little guy.
Oh, Jess. Hey, Jess. Yeah, I wasn't looking at the screen for that one. I'm trying to figure out. And I didn't realize I'm going to have to listen to Ask Achilles. I need Aiden on here so he can first do a review of his own review, and then he can also do the Achilles accent. Because I need practice still of how to nail that one down. Not really. I give up on that one. Let me see here. I'm trying to get this loaded up. Sorry, people.
I sent him an invite.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I should have said something about that earlier. I never even thought about it. And then, we try to get Pike on here, and then, even BMM and some of the other people that were involved in the other ones. And I'm sure Dustin will show up at some point. He always does. He adds a lot to it a lot of times. As long as I keep his shot collar on him.
Are you all right, Jess?
No, I was making faces at my son.
Oh, okay.
So if you see somebody punch him, you know who it was. I'm trying to think if I want to get this started now, or do you have something to say, Jess, or GG?
I'm just here for the memes, man.
You're just here for the beer. Don't lie.
I don't really drink.
I don't either.
You gotta watch out. If you start drinking, Tim might jump out of the bushes and curse you.
Yeah, it's okay. He wouldn't be awake long. I could always plead, "Oh, officer, he startled me and I punched him out of defense. I didn't mean to put him in a coma." But so far we've got Phantom. Cat, come on, seriously. The dog is bad enough, and she has to take her time.
That was
show her
a lot
ass.
of cat that just went by.
No, she's a little thing. She is
Really?
like less than 12. Probably now, as old as she is, she's starting to lose the weight just before I think they pass away, which might sadden me, but it might just be because she's trying to take off some of her winter, weight. But yeah, she's last time I had her weigh was 12 pounds, and she was the runt of the litter. Then we've got Gigi. What's Phantom again? We got Spooky Bear. Boo. Boo-hoo. There we go. I'm gonna go ahead and just get this sucker started because I'm shooting for about 8:30. Unless I start feeling really, really bad, then I'm going to cut this one even shorter. But I've got to meet somebody at 9 o'clock, so I want to make sure I get there. I got a friend that needs to borrow some money, so I'll be the nice dude. Whoop. Oh my God, I don't know if I can listen to Kent even. Gigi, how do you talk me into these things?
Oh, sorry. So, baseball.
Crazy. Yep, there we go. Let me make this full screen. And here we go. Yes, I don't even know. This was, depending when they uploaded it, this was about a year ago. So yeah, we'll hear about their great insight to crap.
Again, okay.
Eyes off the flood, get it on me. I've got and set for battle. You have to have a
clear. Further it.
He knows how far it can go and
observe.
Here we go.
All means of observation to the point that it is consistent beyond reasonable doubt. When Kent conflates so-called cosmic evolution with cosmology, he is attempting to place these two studies on an equal playing field in which they simply do not belong. I intend to demonstrate that to all of you today. Some of those attacks that Kent undoubtedly will make today are going to be arguments that he's already faced many times before by people many times more qualified than myself to discuss on such topics. It's for this reason that I'll now quote from Uptown Sinclair. It is difficult for a man to understand something when his career depends on him not understanding it. I bring this up simply to point something out, not just to Kent, but the audience in general. I am in no way, shape, or form dependent or reliant upon any of these ideas to be true in order to facilitate my living. I contrast Kent with myself in this example simply to illustrate the difference between myself and someone who has made their career out of cosmology or creationism. I have no dog in that fight, and I hope that this will lend a lens of perspective to Kent and the audience at large moving forward in the debate. The history and study of cosmology contains within it some of the most towering figures of intellect that we have ever had in our history. Figures such as Edwin Hubble, Alexander Friedman, William Herschel, Galileo Galilei, and Johannes Kepler. While some of you at home may be wondering why I excluded some notable names from this list, I did it intentionally, because all five of those men just lived.
Do you want to say something, Jess? Or I was going to shut it.
Oh, no. It sounded like he went Galileo Galilei.
Yeah, that's what I thought, too.
Let me go.
But before I started back up, I was going to stop it anyway. But happy, early birthday, Spooky, if I don't see you tomorrow.
Well, happy birthday, Spooky.
Yeah. He's going to be 18. So now that makes it me older than him again. Yes. I don't know. Well, not again, but for the first time. And what's weird for me is listening to Aiden and doing this, because a lot of times he's so articulate and spot on and like all business, and I'm not used to listening that from him. Usually it's directed at certain people.
I didn't know that Kent Hovind debated with Aiden.
I didn't either.
It's interesting.
The first time was on Brett Keene's show. Second time was on here.
Kent Hovind's been on this show.
Not this show. This show right there. The
yeah. Yeah, and I might actually, if I could stomach it, do a theist versus theist, like maybe even I don't know, Jess, if you've ever done a debate or anybody else, in the Ortho Bros, might do one of that at some point.
Yeah,
about 2 or 3 lined up, but I just don't know which ones I want to do first. But I'm trying to see people in the community that have debated.
Yeah, I have someone that I'm talking to right now who I would love to see debate Pike. I've got a friend of mine who's Orthodox, and he is formally a oneness. So he's formally oneness charismatic. I think that would be interesting to see Pike have a discussion with him, because he has some really interesting notes on the theology of oneness and where it came from and all of that.
Yeah, see, I'd like some of that has the Trinity down pat, at least, in their world, versus, say, a modalist. And, have them go back and forth in a friendly manner. But everything I've ever seen, especially when it comes, not with Pike, but like when it's connected to the Pentecostal, it seems like it gets heated really quick, really fast, and it's pointless.
This guy is very calm, and measured in the way he talks. So I think it would be a really good discussion.
Yeah.
If Pike was willing to have the discussion. Because this is a guy who's about to start going to school to become a priest soon.
Damn.
Yeah.
They do say that a lot of people go to seminary. That's when they become atheists. I've been reading more and more about that. It's just kind of weird.
Okay,
My buddy
finally,
Ed, who's
it's
streaming
like
right
the
now.
sausage, right? No one wants to see how the sausage is made.
Right. You know,
Right.
or you know, they get to question it, you know, and that's a lot why there's you know, what it's called, the clergy project, with a lot of you know, people that are still even clergy but have a space to go to you know, that's safe, that they won't out them and disgust or even deconvert. That's, I mean, pretty much I mean, that's a simple version of you know, the rabid atheist story, but pretty much that's you know, it seems like, you know, the theme, you know, that he's talked about a lot, how, you know, people, you know, have all this faith, they go to a seminar and realize, oh, and there's even a guy I follow, CJ Cromworth or something, I can look him up. He about walked away from being a Christian, but decided, you know, he didn't want to walk away from it, but he doesn't, you know, buy into all of it. And he's, you know, once again, a scholar. He's got degrees, you know, coming out the butt. And I like listening to him because to me, he's more, even Dan McClellan, even though a lot of people, you want to say, oh, you know, well, you know, he's a Mormon, I can care less. You know, that's his job. That's, you know, his reputation, you know, yada, yada, yada. And I love listening to scholars who are theists that are, you know, at least a little bit more open-minded to, you know, something else being there than, you know, say that the status pro quo.
Yeah. I think that from what I've seen in my community, that there's a lot of knowledgeable people that are just very relaxed, and they're just they're so well versed, but they don't crow from the rooftops about it, right? Like
Yeah.
they know a ton, but they act like they don't know much. And I don't know. I like that, the humbleness that takes. And you know, like I'm thinking of like Father Stephen DeYoung and Father Andrew Stevens on Lord of Spirits. They're just so unassuming. They just sound like such regular, down to earth people.
Right.
And like to be able to have like a slow paced discussion that's really thoughtful. I mean, you can go anywhere and watch people scream at each other.
Yep.
Right.
I know a few of those places.
Yeah. I mean, this channel is usually one of them.
Right. You know, at times, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's going to change. I mean, I think I mean, I mentioned this the other day because, I mean, it seems like things are going off the rails. People are disrespecting, you know, Gigi with cussing, including myself at times. You know, I'm not innocent by any means. I mean, anybody that's been here have seen me go off on Timmy, and I'm not saying, or even, you know, toilet bowling with words I should have never used, you know. And I even was giving up my wrench to the Gigi because I didn't feel like I was worthy of it after doing that with the bowling thing. But yeah, I think we're going to start, you know, collectively, hopefully, you know, cutting down on at least just the cussing. You know, I mean, I'm a bad one. You know, I've worked in a factory. You can ask my mom. Every other word out of my mouth, you know, can be F-bomb, you know, literally. And of course, she tries to smack me in the mouth, but I'm quicker than her, and she's got T-Rex for an old lady, or T-Rex arms. But you know, I mean, that's just like a precursor. But I mean, because it's like everybody respects, like say even Daniel. You know, I don't see this going on in Daniel's because he doesn't put up with it. But then again, it's his channel. It's one person. It's not, you know, several channels, you know, involved, and you know, oh well. I thought,
it would just be good to see more informative stuff. I mean, I loved what Aiden did last night. I'm hiding behind this comment here.
Oh, sorry. Hey, kidding.
But yeah, I loved seeing what Aiden did last night. And man, Aiden's like really gifted with this stuff. Like he's really good at it.
Yeah. As much as he pisses me off, or you know, I'm sure a lot of other people on certain things, certain topics. I mean, when it comes down to, like I said, even just so far on this discussion with, you know, Kent, because to me that's not a debate. Kent doesn't debate. He, you know, Gish gallops and, you know, gives opinions and does the slideshow thingy. So I that's why I don't have a Hovind boner, because I can care less what he says, because he doesn't say anything in my opinion. But the message that he is getting out there isn't a very good message to begin with anyway. So yes, it's dangerous. At least in my opinion as an atheist. I don't know how you feel as, an ortho or, others in the chat, but
I really have not watched much Kent Hovind content. Like it's interesting to me because, like, I don't know, I feel like there's probably more important people to follow, and it seems like a lot of the people in this community are just into Kent because of his
history,
scandals, his crimes and scandals. So it's almost like a Netflix documentary kind of thing, right? Like
I beat Gigi. Sorry, it's like a contest I have in my own head with Gigi to get this link out there first. I guess I could. I can't link it. That's one thing I can't do. Yeah, you just said something that hit the nail, and I just lost it. My thought.
Oh, about the scandal and the behind the scenes stuff, right?
Yes, yeah. I can't remember, what it exactly was, to be honest. But yeah, it's
that stuff is just so important to people, isn't it?
Some people. No, I don't know. I was going to say, me, myself, and I would never talk. I would talk to Kent just maybe to get to know him, but never to just, debate him or discuss him. Not because I'm afraid of him by any means. If I was ever going to debate anybody, it would be Kent Hovind. That's just how much I don't respect what he says. But like when I watch BMM have interactions with him, it doesn't matter what Kent really says, because BMM has countered it.
There's really nothing. I mean,
hey Dustin, by the way.
Sorry guys, my bad.
No, you're fine. Yeah, you're
I'll join in. No, I'm talking to my partner over here.
Oh,
but real quick, Ken Hovind, he's the evidence of the Trump effect. There's no such thing as bad publicity, and any criminal publicity is the best.
Right. And there's always going to be somebody to believe them and back them.
No, that's the thing, is like the more underdog you are, it's like the Streisand effect, right?
Well,
the bigger the car accident, the more people will throw at it. That's I mean, he's found the formula to ride the rift in between, like, the margin and like bankruptcy. He's like, I don't know, like, he's found the algorithm.
Right. And that algorithm is to go after the gullible. It's just like any phone scam, or like you get a text message and you look at it and it's like, it's a scam, but there's people out there that don't think it is. And those are the people they're targeting, with see
what Trump did, or what Kent did, was the classic half and half, like, stockbroker experiment, where, like, you told half people to invest in this stock and you told other people to avoid it. And you just stuck with the winners until you ended up with enough money it didn't matter.
Right. I agree.
Like, that's what you do. I mean, that's how every business does it. I mean, ultimately, even if you're like, oh, I'm ethically sound and principled. Well, bullshit.
Actually, average pianist, I guess. This is a JA meeting. Jesus Anonymous. So it depends what side of the coin you are. You're more than welcome. And we're going to start handing out, like, month chips, 6-month chips, and a year. Yeah, right. Okay, I'm going to fire this up for a little bit. My cat is staring at me and headbutting me because she wants pet. Damn cat. Oh, I guess
listed were all Christian. While Kent will try to claim that these pillars of our cosmology are there simply to distract or take us away from Scripture, none of these men, among many, many others over the history of cosmology, have had to face the same issue. All of those men understood that the Scripture makes it abundantly clear that any man who turns away from God because his creation does not meet their expectations is a fool. And not only this, that truly strong faith will not be shaken by any evidence that is brought forth into our reality. Suffice it to say, these claims are not true on Kent's part, and these great men of our scientific past stand as sentinels against that mistruth. With all of that said, I do hope that Kent proves me wrong. I hope that he comes at me with unconventional arguments.
Aiden, he's dead. Stop.
And I hope that he proves, above all else, that I am wrong about his misconceptions of our sciences over the course of this debate. And with that, I yield the rest of the balance of my time to Kent.
Nicely put, Aiden.
Stephen, do I just start? Are you going to say something? Or
He wasn't even paying attention.
Stephen was.
The floor is yours, Doc. Go ahead.
Oh, I didn't realize toilet bowling.
I'm curious why Aiden doesn't show his face. I mean, I'm not afraid to show mine. Is there something wrong here? Anyway, you can do that later if you'd like. First of all, I think you made a serious error in your very first statement. I'm not against.
I mean, really, how do you agree to a debate and then all of a sudden turn that into an issue? And it's not like, Aiden's never been on cam by any means.
He's like, you absolutely roasted me. Why won't you show your face?
Yeah.
That's like Jamie when he was like, Aiden, why are you outclassing me?
That is funny. Yeah, that's what I got. That's why I have to not even take what he says seriously, but it's still funny. Oh no, you're not. I need to shave it. I mean, not shave, but shave, trim. Like I just got, and it's not even a beard; it's a goat. But the goat's out of control. But I've been sick here the last 3 or 4 days and 2 days.
You feel better, buddies.
Oh, I feel a lot better than I did. Best like I said after the shower. But thanks, Odin. So here we go with the Kent nonsense. I mean,
cosmology, the study of the ecology, the study of the cosmos, the study of the universe. I'm in favor of it.
Okay, hold on a second though.
You guys want
to include pause for a second.
A good science called cosmology.
You got to understand something, okay? Kent, for all of his flaws, you can't say the man's lying. Okay? And there's an element of that rests on the scientist's shoulders. Because if it wasn't for the ability to sensationalize what they're saying, because there's so much ambiguity in the way they explain it, this man wouldn't be so confused in the first place.
I wouldn't call Kent necessarily a liar in what he believes. I would question some of the honesty in it, behind some of it. I mean, this is like me and a certain person get into it every so often when they call somebody a liar. It's like, well, just because they believe different than you doesn't mean that they're lying. You
want to know the mark of an excellent liar, Asho? A group of people who simultaneously will blame him for being broke and then tell him that he's guilty of tax evasion at the same time. That's the mark of an excellent liar. Okay? Right. That can bury a lie in such a confusing way that people are telling the lie for you. He can't be broke and simultaneously be guilty of tax evasion. These two things are like oil and water. They do not mix. That is the mark of an excellent lie. That's how I know he's lying. That's how I know he's lying, because he's got every other people doing the lie for him.
Right.
So, yes, the man is a liar. The question is, can you catch him?
Well, I think BMM has many times personally, or at least, put dents in it.
But the man still limps along, there's got to be an Achilles heel somewhere. The man has bonds. Okay, and I think the issue is that the vector of attack is being inappropriately applied, right? If we're dealing with people who are giving him money, and that's the issue at hand here, then we need to attack from where his bonds are, i.e. where he gets his funds.
And I kind of have to lean with Odin. I mean, I don't, but I also qualified it earlier as saying I think some things that he knows that he's not being, totally honest about. Either. And I'm not talking about the scandals and the personal stuff, because it seems like every time Kent does a debate, if you want to call them debates, how many people have told him what evolution is and he still misrepresents what evolution is? I don't care if anybody believes evolution or not. At least have a working knowledge of it. It'd be like me saying, hey, Jess, you and me are going to talk about the Trinity, and I have no idea what the Trinity is, but I'm still going to tell you I'm right.
If I was to give my best Steelman, if I was to give my best Steelman performance of what evolution is, somebody would chime in with, "You forgot X, Y, Z." All right, it's too big of a theory at this point, with so many facets and so many different quote unquote areas of verification, that any one person that claims they have sufficient knowledge in it is either lying or out and out crazy.
Right.
I'm crazy.
I'm not crazy. I know I am.
So is that Kent's whole thing is like engaging in evolutionary theory and trying to make that parallel with the church?
Evolutionary theory, no, he's against evolutionary theory. He's engaging with the atheists. He believes that evolution is a farce, a fairy tale that's being taught to children, that's taking them away from the truth of Jesus. To a degree, I understand the argument. I don't agree with his tactics, methods, and principles.
Oh, not his principles.
And Gigi to the rescue. We'll see what Bond's got to say before I started back. Kent is intentionally ignorant. He's been given answers and citations that show he is wrong on many points, but he refuses to look at those sources. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I was touching on. You know, for somebody who claims to know evolution, he doesn't argue evolution very well.
Says the guy who can't keep blame straight. I mean,
yeah,
you got a point, but I'm not putting too much stock in what he says.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, but there are people that
I just have to say to Bond, I rescind my apology to you. Just wanted to say.
I rescind my apologies to everybody. All right, here we go. We're all set. We're happy. And now I think of it, and I'm sure BMM or somebody else. Too bad Maud's not here. She could probably tell me, but I don't know if I've ever seen Maud. If I've ever seen Kent debate anything other than evolution of some sort.
I have.
Really? Help me out a little bit.
One, he debated his second debate with Brother Pike. They debate about predestination, I think.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah. I remember that now. Say, you remind me. That's why I keep you around, little guy.
He debated it. I seen this on Mark's channel. He debated this guy who about preterism.
Oh, so then I guess I wasn't wrong. I didn't say he never has. I just never seen it, but now I remember at least the one with Brother Pike, because I think we were going to do it at one point.
Here's a couple debates he had with Brother Pike.
So, but then it's still safe to say though that evolution is his go-to though.
Yeah.
You know. Okay. Thank you.
Well, denial of evolution.
Well, yeah. There you go. You know. Apology, I guess. Okay, I'm not getting into politics. Well, we're not doing a politics and no cussing. No
that sports, is not science.
And no, what was the other thing? There was something else. There was three things the rules. No cussing, no shorts, and you don't diss the Baja Blessed.
It is not science to teach all the planets and stars and everything came from a dot smaller than an atom. I'm not against cosmology, Aiden. I'm against the Big Bang religion, and it's nothing but a religion. They teach the kids. They have their pictures showing everything starting from a dot. Here we go. European Space Agency. Can you make mine larger there, Brother Steve? Okay. Did the universe start smaller than an atom? Here's what they say. Time, space, and matter all begin with the Big Bang in a fraction of a second. The universe grew from smaller than a single atom to bigger than a galaxy. That's got nothing to do with cosmology. Cosmology is the study of the cosmos. I'm for it. Study it. And I think you'll find there's a whole lot of stuff out there that will not fit in a dot smaller than an atom. This statement this European Space Agency made is stupid. That's not a thing. You really think all the matter in the universe fit in a dot smaller than an atom? You really think all the Himalaya mountains fit in a dot smaller than an atom? You really think all 8 billion people on the planet, that's the ones alive today, plus the ones that died, all came from the dot smaller than an atom? Yes, water can be compressed. Mm-hmm. If you start at room temperature, 1 atmosphere, you have liquid water. If you compress it to 1 gigapascal, it becomes a solid. Compressing water into ice is relatively easy with specialized equipment, taking a few thousand atmospheres of pressure. It takes a few thousand atmospheres just to squeeze water into ice. Now, to squeeze all the water in the ocean down into a dot smaller than an atom is impossible. Where's this pressure coming from? I'm just pointing out the Big Bang is not science. It's a religious belief. I'm not against cosmology. I'm for it. And you said, I don't understand something because my career depends on it. Well, that's a slap in the face, Aiden. I understand it completely. My career does not depend on this. Your career might, I don't know. But there is no scientific way you can compress all the water in the oceans into a dot. They were able, with 3 million atmospheres of pressure, using the metal organic framework, to reduce the volume of water.
You notice how he took almost 5 seconds to illustrate the aggravation Aiden pointed out to his career.
Right.
Did you notice that? It's like every time you go after the man's money,
He
like,
gets butthurt really quick.
I think that's the new vector of attack. I mean, if we were smart, it's not his wife. He doesn't care about that lady. He never gave two shits about that lady. He flaunted her,
or what they
like he
treated
her like she was arm candy. Like, oh, look at what I have. Like, dude, it's not his wife. It's not his image. It's his damn money. Like, this whole image thing is something he's maintaining because there's somebody lining this man's back pockets. He's standing in as a trustee. Look, let me tell you something, Azo. Tax avoidance is completely legal. Tax evasion is illegal.
Yes.
Okay.
All you have to do is file your taxes and you're good. You don't even have to pay your taxes.
Well,
no, you really don't. The government will come at you, but you won't do jail time for not paying your taxes. They can get you for, not filing taxes, which is tax evasion.
If you're making revenue outside of the normal, if you earn over a certain amount outside of taxation, I think there's a cap at like $40,000. After that, then they're going to come after you for penalties, and they stack. But here's the other end of that equation, though. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that argument. He knows. I'm pretty sure he knows. He went to prison for it. So.
Yeah, but it's like right now. I mean, at least Aiden was bringing up some facts and this, that, and the other, and Kent's just giving his opinion. I mean, that's just
I wish Aiden would have brought up structuring.
Right.
If Aiden would have brought up structuring, you would have seen freaking Kent's head just pop.
Yeah.
It would have done circles. He would have started spewing green everywhere. Like it would have been The Exorcist on dope.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
to me, it's like, a lot of straw mans and a lot of ad hominems. Hey, Dan, how you doing? You're more than welcome. I got enough 2, 4. Yeah, I've got another slot up there if you want to join by chance. Don. I keep on calling him.
Is it Mr. Mutt? Is it Mr. Eyebrows or which Dan?
Yeah, Posy.
Posy, get in here, Mr. Posy Traction.
If you can't or you don't want to, Dan, it's just an offer since this was on your guys' channel and you can add to it. I'd say
cerebral palsy.
Anyway, I'm going to fire this sucker back up
by 7%. They're able to squeeze water down 7% using 3 million atmospheres. And you want to think of all the water in the oceans. There's 333 million cubic miles of water on this planet. That's just on the surface. That's only about 1.5 miles, 2 miles thick. The whole planet. You really believe the whole planet Earth fit in a dot? So stop saying I'm against cosmology. I'm against including Big Bang with cosmology. Big Bang has nothing. Big Bang is a religious belief. I'm not against science. I'm against including evolution with science. These stupid charts that they make. Did you ever give me another one, brother? Okay. Those stupid charts they make with everything related to a common ancestor. That's not science. It's science to say dogs produce dogs and cows produce cows. That's science. It is not science to say dogs and cows have a common ancestor with a tomato. You guys try to sneak your religion in under the guise of science and cosmology. The study of cosmos is wonderful. We got a bunch of telescopes here. Come on up, sit on our deck on the back 40 and watch the stars. There probably are, let's see, they estimate there are 40 billion Earth-sized planets orbiting different stars around our galaxy. That's the current estimate. You couldn't squeeze a cup of water into a dot smaller than an atom. You certainly aren't going to squeeze the whole Earth, let alone 40 billion Earths. That doesn't include the stars. You think all 1.5 billion cows fit in that dot smaller than an atom? Okay, this guy says it's roughly the size of a human being. Well, it's bigger than an atom, but you couldn't squeeze all the cows into a size of a human being either. This is just plain baloney. And you start off, you're lost in the first few minutes. I'm not against cosmology. I'm against the Big Bang. The Big Bang is not cosmology. It's a religious belief to explain the origin of time, space, matter. This one says the Big Bang was a moment 13.8 billion years ago when the universe began as a tiny, dense fireball that exploded. And they use the word explosion, okay? Whether you want to call it explosion or expansion faster than the speed of light, I'd say that's an explosion. It's arguing about trivia. The fact is, you do believe, or that some of your friends may believe, that matter came from nothing. The first long-lived matter particles of any kind were protons and neutrons. These came into existence around a 10,000th of a second after the Big Bang. That is not a scientific statement. That's a statement of great faith.
Dr. Hovind, that's time.
Okay.
Okay, with that, I'm going to stop really quick, though. Dan, just to correct you, evolution isn't chance, but I'm not, but you already know that. I'm not even, I guess I shouldn't even try to correct you because it's almost like the Kent Hovind thing. He's heard it enough that he should at least know the basics of evolution. You don't have to believe in it, but at least understand what you're arguing against. And as far as I know, I don't know any person who believes, or accepts evolution, thinks it was by chance. There's a process and mechanics, and I can't argue it because that's not my forte. I mean, BMM's pretty good at it. Aiden obviously, is, but I can't, argue. But actually, now I think there's two people I probably would debate: Kent and Dan. Sorry, Dan.
I'd debate Dan. I'd debate Dan with like half my brain tied behind. I'd be like, pass me the cough syrup. This is it's still too easy.
That's not fair. Dan's an old guy. I mean, not quite as old as me, but so he should, at least have a chance to debate, me, the geriatric.
If Dan could make it through a paragraph without stuttering or repeating himself, I'd be unbelievably impressed.
Bond, if you, we're still on that. Kent, hold on. Let me catch up with this and then get started again. Bond, sorry. It keeps moving. One above it between the two of you. Damn it. Kent misrepresenting, trying to make it seem like the cows on Earth currently should be considered when talking about the Big Bang.
Bro.
Hi, Dustin. Okay, yes, you. Okay. They're still having their little thing, so that's all good.
So I'm not against cosmology. Thank you.
We're going to go ahead and give it back to you now, Aiden. You have 10 minutes to go ahead and defend your position. And as soon as you begin speaking and unmute your microphone, I will start your timer, sir.
Yeah, sure. Not a problem at all. So as far as Kent's, one of his many claims that he ended up alluding to at the very beginning of that, he does not rely on this for a living. Of course he does. Of course he relies on this for a living because if Big Bang cosmology was something that he taught, in his view, it somehow is it's something that cannot be equivocated with biblical cosmology. Those two things are simply incompatible in his worldview. So of course it naturally is dependent upon his career that he not understands this. The reason why I said that as a so-called slap in the face, as he said, Kent, is because these concepts have been explained to you numerous times on numerous occasions, and the questions that you ask in the face of those times that you've had those things answered are not questions that are based on any sort of advancement of knowledge in the face of those answerings of questions. They're just simply you asking the same questions over and over and over again in perpetuity, as though you had never had those questions answered in the first place. It's not an honest way to be able to carry forward your understanding of things. And it's certainly not a scientific way of carrying forward your understanding of things and expanding it so that you might be able to portray a more better and accurate picture of the sciences to people that are dependent on you for that kind of information. That's why I said those sorts of things about you, Kent. In relation to the Big Bang, well, the main crux of your argument was essentially incredulity. You think that this large amount of things came into being from this tiny amount of space. Well, Kent, the size of the singularity, the time that the singularity had within it, and the time that was without it, all of those things are not things which the Big Bang Theory addresses. The Big Bang Theory simply addresses what happened directly after t equals 0, and it addresses the rapid expansion of the universe that happened directly afterward that period of time. So just because you're incredulous of that, because humanity isn't capable of replicating those exact same conditions, that would only be a valid argument. Well, we can't do it now, therefore we can never do it. It's just simply impossible. It's an immovable.
Sorry to interrupt, Aiden, through that. If Dan's still here, maybe he can answer. I'm going by, what was on their website, that this was at least posted a year ago, which could be, a year and a month or 2 or 3, the way YouTube does its count, but fairly recent, but not really recent, unless Dan could clarify that.
So, okay, look, there's a statistical anomaly, okay? That is what is the centered nuclei around which coalesces evolution. There is something that happened, and what it is most likely classified in the scientific community is as a mistake. Random chance. Okay? The only reason that life formed on this planet in order to evolve was a series of very random bad mistakes or accidents. Depends on how you want to classify it, right? Because the norm, as far as we can tell, over any of the other planets is 0 life.
And Dan, if I was going to grant you all this nonsense that you just said, that, you know, it's evidence for a designer, it still doesn't point to your God. It doesn't even have to point to any God, you know. So you're still got a long way to go with that, even if I was to accept, you know, everything you just said, which
that is actually true. If we disprove evolution, we still have all of our work ahead of us to prove God.
Right. I mean, it could be, you know, I mean, I don't, you know, I guess, you know, not even fall, but I don't even know what the word would be. But, you know,
falsifiability or falsification.
Well, no. I mean, for me, it's like I don't prescribe. There you go. I don't prescribe to these that I'm, you know, but like different dimensions, you know, prove it wrong.
You mean
aliens?
You mean like?
Go ahead.
Do you mean like the existence of parallel dimensions?
Yeah, I mean that could be one answer to what's going on. You know, really, we're nothing more than the aliens and farm. They're, you know.
Well, there's mathematical relativity that proves some of that stuff. Parallel universes, the idea that two objects can occupy the same space at the same time, but the idea is that the physical position of the phasing for the electrical interference that allows for the strong force on this plane of existence is shifted by a degree, so it passes straight through us as though we were never even there.
So any other explanation other than evolution, in my opinion,
to what,
you know, is just as valid as what, you know, Dan is saying as far as, you know, well, you know, it points to a designer. Okay, but it doesn't point to your designer.
No, see, that's the thing, right? Is Dan takes it on faith. I mean, but in some cases he forces you to take it on granted. And that's not fair. It's not a fair thing for him to do. It's the fundamental issue, I believe, anyway, that underpins your psychosis, that is atheism.
Right.
So,
and I'm not saying that Dan's, you know, even because he said a creator, he didn't say my creator, my God, the biblical God, or any of that. But I was just making sure that point was out there. Damn, I actually said something smart for once. We better shut this down because it ain't going to happen again.
Let's see. Look, let's get back to. I mean, look. I like sausage, but this is getting horrible. Like he's getting to the nitty gritty here and showing us how the sausage is made. Aiden.
Here we go, Aiden. There we go.
I did not want to see this happen to Kent Hovind.
Oh, poor Kent. Too bad Maud's not here because she'd be crying and picking up Kent's little head and putting it in her lap and saying, "I'm number 5. I'm number 5."
Because we can't do it now. That would be true if science was a dogmatic institution. But as I've already pointed out to you, Kent, science is not a dogmatic institution. Science is an institution which is constantly changing its understanding of things based on new information. And part of that new information is facilitated through new technologies which we are able to come up with, which have helped to facilitate not your worldview, but rather the view of Big Bang cosmology. Even people that I had mentioned in my opening statement, such as Alexander Friedman, he was a committed Orthodox Christian, and yet his Friedman equation is what we as cosmologists use to help determine the rate of expansion with which this universe is currently experiencing. And can roll back using that predictive model a time period which seems to correlate with that of the cosmic microwave background, as well as the hard light barrier that we see at the edge of our observable universe. All of these things are correlated together with one another, and some of those pillars that ended up building our cosmology as we understand them were built by deeply religious people that did not see this inherent contradiction as though you see it. That these things certainly could not happen whilst the Bible could also happen. Well, they didn't have that problem. So as far as defending cosmology, as far as defending the view of Big Bang cosmology, I would be happy to get into the specifics of that with Kent. If he has specific gripes with it, besides, oh, well, I'm just incredulous about this argument. Oh, that just seems really unlikely. Oh, well, you're just not going to see that when you walk outside your door every single day. Therefore, it's simply impossible.
There's one issue with what Aiden's saying right now.
But also just simply to say, well...
He is?
There is one issue that I have with what Aiden's saying right now. Okay?
Right.
He's going to say the background light, right? The background radiation, which is considered light. What was the first thing God brought forth? Let there be...
Well, that wasn't the first thing. You need to go back to both accounts of the creation in Genesis 1 and 2. Because we had, what is it, 2 or 1? Because I just was reading up on this today for a friend of mine. Because even though I'm an atheist, they know I kind of know a lot more than they do. Put it that way. and was asking me about the plants. You know, how can the plants have been there first without, you know, light?
God was the light.
Yeah.
Yeah, while he was on the planet. That
I mean,
even Jesus claims to be the light.
Well, I claim to be the light, but doesn't mean that planet ain't gonna die because it's like really, really cold without any light or any of that stuff.
I mean, the very first thing we talk about when we're talking about Big Bang, it wasn't even the first thing we discovered about Big Bang cosmology, but the theory persists. Right? But the cosmic radiation background, which is a light.
Or do you know who that is, Gigi, or did you take him off? I thought I put him on the stage.
Who was this? I think it might be Brother Pike.
No, there's usually a picture with Brother Pike. No, I thought I put him up there, and then, you know, they were back down here, and I thought maybe you took them down for a reason. That's why I was asking, you know, if you already knew that, you know, they were kind of weird.
Anyway, I'm gone for a week, and all of a sudden it's taking me down for a reason.
Yeah.
Hey,
yeah,
this is for you. Hey, Dustin, this is for you.
Thank you.
So I'm an equal opportunity booter.
I appreciate that.
There we go.
Here we go.
Hi, Brother Pike.
Hey, buddy.
How are you today? Looking at the TV?
I am not watching TV, Logan.
Let me guess. You're quote unquote working. You see, he's trying to figure out if you're going to lie about it or tell me the truth.
Wait, you broke up. Say it again.
Oh, I say, yeah, let me guess. You're quote unquote working.
Working.
Isn't it?
Oh, there we go.
Isn't it interesting, Christian, how God said, "Let there be light," and one of the claims to the Big Bang theology is that there's a cosmic radiation background, which is composed of radiation, which is also known as light.
Yeah, but an atheist wouldn't, or I bet you, guarantee you, most scientists wouldn't agree with that, though.
I'm sure that they wouldn't. I'm sure that they would have I'm sure they'd have a real big problem with it. But the problem is that they can't get away from calling radiation light. They can't get away from it. What are you going to call it then? What is it? If it's not light, if it's not a cosmic radiation background,
what I'm saying is
fancy way.
Well, what I'm just saying is just because it's written down on a piece of paper doesn't mean it's true whatsoever. So they can call it, you know, grass for all I care, and it'd be just as true, you know, as me believing in the story of, you know, creation of Genesis 1 and 2, which totally contradict each other. Not totally, but a lot of contradictions.
I mean, if you're two people telling the same story, you're bound to run into a contradiction.
Okay, but we're talking about the inspired word of God. Are you telling me that God contradicts himself even though he used man to pen it?
No, but I believe that if God was telling the story of a contradiction, he'd have to tell it the way it is.
Oh. What do you think, Jess? Oh, you're muted.
That's the best thing he's ever said.
You're muted there, little guy.
Oh, I forgot what I said.
Are you on chemo too, Jess?
As long as it wasn't Dustin's an idiot, I want to hear it.
I don't know who this person is, but I'm beginning to like him.
Oh my god.
Oh, not really.
I think I know who it is.
This one I thought it was somebody that I thought it was, and I asked, and it's not. And it's not even there's one other, I guess, but they were supposed to be running to go get food at like 7:00 and wasn't going to be back for a while.
Oh.
So yes. I don't think I don't think it's Maud, but she told me she had to, run because I said, hey, hurry up, get here. You get on the stage if you want.
Missing Odd Job?
Missing Membrane, yes.
Missing Gray Matter.
Oh, no, we've actually changed it.
Missing Mobhead.
Yeah, I did a show, was it last night? That somebody calls her Missing Meds.
Yeah, that one's not mine.
That's not accurate.
That's too bad. I didn't get.
We're not railing on Maud. I'm just making
That's
fun.
2 on the nose, Azzo, though. That's a little 2 on the nose. We can't be that direct.
I'm just a guy trying to get help from my alcohol. We came to the wrong room.
Oh, hey, Bond, friend him real quick.
Yeah.
Bond,
Let
go
him be your
ahead.
tester for your.
Yeah. Hey, Bond, go ahead and get average pianist and make sure everyone has to tiptoe around his feelings all the time.
Oh no, I was talking about
Average.
giving him some, free samples.
You know,
I would
that's
say
a little suspiciously too close to average pianist, but
anybody has an
Well, apparently one of the people that comes in here all the time has a username Titan Uranus.
Titan Uranus.
If you ever see them, no, because I think I unblocked them, but I will ban them on site.
Why? What'd they do?
Oh God, I'm not. Yeah, that's a story in itself. That's a whole new.
Wait, they're on permaban, and you're not gonna tell me why? You can't just give me.
I know what it is.
Is that
Okay,
homoeroticism?
No,
give me the quick version.
It's a group of what. It's part of why I left the show I was part of before. I call them SJNs, but the social justice warriors were. They went after a lot of people, including Earl. For they're trying to control the narrative, being gatekeepers. They've went to channels, smaller channels, threatening to get them canceled if they didn't go along with what I call the alphabet mafia wanted. And Titan and Maya and there quite a few of them are that way. That's why I don't go over there anymore. And he stalks Earl, literally. He came into Ed's channel, never been there before, started acting like he was best friends with anybody, and I insta-banded him. So yeah, if he's here, he won't come in with Titan Uranus because I'll ban his ass. Don't care.
Guess who's here?
Aiden.
Wait,
I see you're finally doing. I see you're finally doing a review that's worthwhile, Lazo.
I'm actually quite impressed so far. Go back to what I said. I said I can't believe as flippy as Aiden can be at times, how articulate and on focus, for the task at hand. So yeah, I was quite impressed so far. And then to get Kent's nuh-uh.
The only time I fear a fight is when Aiden's on the opposite side.
There. Asking my opinion.
That's some high praise, Dustin. I appreciate that. Some high praise. Well, what part are we at right now?
It comes down to a battle of will.
Average penis, if you want. I'm no pressure. I will kick somebody off the stage if I ain't got enough room. I'll kick myself off here just to have you come up here and have fun. Because
what's going on? Hold on.
There's some comments from the Peanuts gallery.
Yeah, but say AP.
What gallery?
The Peanuts gallery.
Oh, sound like you said something else, Dustin.
No, I did not say penis gallery.
What part of the debate are we at?
You're serving up sausage.
Yeah. We're only at like the 16-minute mark. I might actually say we're going to get as far as we can tonight in this and then do the other half next week if you think the second part's just as well, because I've got to be gone at like 8:30 unless Gigi wants to keep it going, but he probably wants to go to bed.
We can probably do another part at some point.
Yeah, because the question I want to ask you and that I've been wanting to ask everybody who's done a review of is, after the review, and after kind of rewatching some of what you said, and I don't want the answer now, but what do you think that you said wrong, and what were your strong points, and what would you say different if you had a chance after, we get watching all of this sort of thing?
The brutal savagery with which he's just laid Kent out to dry. I mean, some restraint would have been nice.
I mean, if you listen to the Proverbs guys' reviews of this, I got utterly destroyed by Kent. So crazy how perspective works, isn't it?
I don't know if Dan's still here or not because he's working, but he was in here earlier, and I invited him up here. But yeah, he doesn't like it either. You got destroyed.
It's true. Therefore, it's not true. If that were the case,
I thought somebody was saying something.
Then Galileo Galilei wouldn't have needed to have demonstrated that two objects will still have the exact same accelerative force when dropped upon the same distance. That was not something that was necessarily intuitive to people. For many, 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 many years, people thought that if two objects had different masses, that the heavier mass would drop faster. There's many different things in science which are not necessarily intuitive. Space-time is a great example of something that is not intuitive. That does not mean that it does not exist. So with that being said, I would be happy for Kent to, highlight actual specific parts of cosmology, or Big Bang cosmology specifically, that he is incredulous towards. I'd be happy for that to be the case, and I'd be happy to address them. But it's a little bit difficult when it's all laid out in one big plethora or all big batch of things, just with the umbrella theme of which all being, well, I'm just incredulous of this concept. So please, with that being said, Kent, go ahead. I'm sure you're going to be given 10 minutes. I could even give you the balance of my time on top of your 10 minutes. Please go ahead.
You have only taken 5 of your 10 minutes, Aiden. Are you sure you want to relinquish the whole 5, or I can hand it over to Doc now?
He walks away from the mic.
Okay, Dr. Hovind, it's back to you. You have 10 minutes, sir.
Okay, well, let's see.
There you go.
I'm not gonna lie, this was a bit of a flex on my part. I just threw half of my opening time over to Kent, just here, I don't need it. That was good.
It's hard to take all your time when you know he's not gonna hit any. It's like, look at my board. This is how we play Sink My Battleship. He's wide. He can't hit a single thing.
I know Kent's tactics. I know that Kent, if I come at him with 5 specific points about cosmology, then he's going to tell me one topic at a time. And if I come at him with 1 point about cosmology that's very well laid out, he's going to try and go back to generalities. That's how Kent works. He always goes one way or the other. And I figured it would be better right off the bat to get Kent into a scenario where he's on the back foot and he has to explain himself, because he always thrives when he tries to get other people to explain themselves. But Kent's ideas of how the world works are wackadoodle as all hell, and that's why he doesn't like to explain them to people. At least if he can choose between explaining them to others and having others explain their ideas, he'll always choose the latter, because it's always easier to pick someone else's ideas apart than to showcase your own.
Yeah.
I just think you're being a bully at this point.
You think this is elder abuse?
Yes, I think that this is the cause for his stroke that he had shortly after this. I think he was reflecting and then just lost it. He's all like, "Oh my
this
God.
was it. This was the straw that broke the camel's back." He was like, "Oh shit!
I might lose my secret sponsor."
I think Penis is looking for a sponsor, but a different kind.
Bro, I'm trying to tell you, Aiden. If we find out who's funding him, and we get at that, then the man's done. Okay, because he's not getting enough money from that 777 club to keep afloat there. Somebody's lining that man's back pockets. He's laundering it somehow and giving it back.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case, even slightly. But
look, Aiden. I
feel like if Kent gets taken down, though, Dustin, just really quick, I feel like if Kent gets taken down through some external factor, then he's going to have a legacy within his community of being a martyr in some way, shape, or form. They're gonna go, "Oh, look at Kent, he got taken down by the city." I feel like it's better for him to just rot away in obscurity.
Well, and almost to a point, though, that's why, if people go after him for other things other than science or this, that, and the other, his followers are just going to say, once again, see, they can't go, can't take him down for science. They have to talk about tax evasion, his wife, DAO, yada, yada, yada. And it strengthens their faith. I really do.
Not yada, yada, yada.
Oh, yeah. Yada, yada, yada.
The thing that you need to focus in on with Ken is his bunk science, because science isn't one of those things where, it's just, oh, well, I can just be wishy-washy with it and I can fudge things however I want. I mean, you can do that if you want, but there's a precedent within the scientific community of people who have done a way better job at hiding their lies than Kent, and they've been exposed and totally discredited within the scientific community. So good try, Kent.
Which is just showing that, how science really does work, correcting its own errors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But just real quick before we continue, you said if there's anything I did wrong, there's a couple things that if I could go back and change in this debate, Like, I think I confused cosmic inflation with something else near the end of the debate. And I actually bring this up in the review that we did shortly after when this debate happened. I brought up, I totally fudged something at the end and mixed two things up. And Kent, if he was paying attention, could have called me out on that and caught me out on that right at the very end. And at that point, it's the end of the debate. So I don't have any room at that point to make a recovery or do something better. If he could have called me out on that, then he could have just utterly crushed me at the end of that and invalidated all this work that I had established. But he didn't get it because he's not actually paying attention.
Right. And so that's what I'm saying. I've never noticed how much he doesn't, that he actually relies on his script. Doesn't matter what you say. Oh, they think that, we came from a rock or, strawberries or this, that, the other, so it doesn't matter what you say or what you're talking about. He's still going to go with his script, just like any preceptor.
I feel like in this debate, I could have subtly said something utterly absurd, like our position in the Andromeda galaxy, as opposed to like the Milky Way, and Kent wouldn't have caught it because he's just not, he's in La La Land.
Yeah.
All right, sorry, I'll let you keep going with this.
Oh, it's fine. Anybody else? All right.
I have lots of things I want to say, but I'm going to hold it in.
Well, we don't got a week, Dustin.
Brevity is the soul of wit.
I mean, look, I don't want to say you're wrong, Aiden, because you are factually correct when it comes to the science, right? But there's a few things that you say, and I don't think you realize that when you're saying them, they kind of agree with what the Bible says.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so the cosmic radiation background, what is that qualified as?
Cosmic microwave background?
Which
it's
is
qualified
light,
as
right? Like radiation, light, infrared light.
Well, light is a form of radiation primarily caused through photons, but microwaves are not necessarily directly conducive to light. They're actually the furthest stretching out you can do to a wavelength, I believe.
Do they classify it as infrared or heat or light? Yes,
I'm pretty sure that they're microwaves. So,
which is the leftover heat.
Sure, that's heat, but that's not light. Heat and light are different things.
No, they're infrared and heat are exactly the same thing. It's just the light.
Infrared, though, like what you're talking about, like the light that we perceive, like visible light, like if you heat a metal object until it glows, like, yes, you are seeing light that's being produced by that, but that's because the photons that are coming off of that are a byproduct of the emission of radiation. It's just one of the byproducts of it. It doesn't mean that the heat and light are the same thing.
No, but the infrared is a light, and the byproduct of that light is heat. It's the leftover heat from the original expansion of the universe, which is also classified as light. You can't escape it. That's what it is. When it's beaming out into the universe and it's finding its equilibrium, it's discharging as infrared. Which I'm sorry, again.
What if I blew your mind by telling you that light wasn't a thing for the first like couple 100,000 years of our universe?
You wouldn't blow my mind. I'm very up on cosmology science.
Well, I said what if for a reason.
But
yeah,
I understand.
The heat and the density of everything in the early universe was literally so much so that photons couldn't exist.
But there was particles and antiparticles, and there was collisions.
Just one sec, my fiance's calling me.
AJ's calling.
Yeah.
I said that, I keep remembering. I keep thinking that the pregnant AJ pops into my head. I don't know why it did. So it's like, oh, wait a second. It took me a second to respond, but we'll keep playing this until he gets back, unless he doesn't have much more to say.
Light is an electromagnetic spectrum that it wouldn't technically be around until the strong, weak, electromagnetic and gravity forces were established, where the particles cooled off enough to condense. But okay, let's go.
There we go.
This. I love science. I want to purge science of some of the dumb stuff that's been included in science over the centuries, including evolution, which is not part of science. We better first, what was before the Big Bang? This guy was asked the question. It's a mind-boggling question that has intrigued scientists, theologians, and curious alike for centuries. What was before the Big Bang? Roughly 13.7 billion years ago, the entire universe existed as a singularity, a point smaller than a subatomic particle, according to the Big Bang theory. Well, where did time come from? How long? Where was this singularity 75 billion years ago? You're saying at 13.7 billion years ago, it started. Okay, what was 13.8 billion years ago? What was 13.9? What was 14 billion years ago? Did this singularity just exist for eternity? How far back in time do we go? Do you have a beginning for time? See, the evolutionists and the cosmologists that he wants to include his Big Bang religion, they cannot explain the origin of time, space, or matter. And he's saying, just because I've asked the same questions over and over, and I repeat the same stuff, because you guys don't have a logical answer. The textbooks, they want to teach the kids, Big Bang Theory, here we go, boys and girls. The cosmos goes through super fast inflation, expanding from the size of an atom to that of a grapefruit in a tiny fraction of a second. This isn't science. This is somebody's religion. They believe this. And there might have been some people who love the Lord involved in coming up with this theory. I'm sorry, they're wrong. I'll debate them too. My point is, you need to understand, I think, Aiden, you don't know what science is, okay? How does science differ from other fields? Science is the knowledge gained using observation, experimentations to describe the world around us. Can you show me the observation of matter?
Okay. In his own words, if science is the knowledge gained, yada, 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 then how can that be a religion?
Well,
religion is observation and experiments, and on and on and on sort of thing. I keep hearing faith.
It's a religion because when I say religion, religion is bad.
Oh, welcome back, Aiden. Yeah, I'm saying you can't have it both ways. Like he's talking out both sides of his mouth. It's a science is a religion, but yet then it gives the definition of what science is, and it has nothing to do with what the definition of religion is.
His argument is malformed. What he really means is that the scientist operates from faith.
But they don't.
They don't. In his own words right there. What is science? It's the knowledge gained. How do you gain this? Observation, experiments,
What does the Bible say? Oh, sorry, Gigi's trying to talk. Gigi, go ahead, buddy.
Sorry, Gigi, I have something. I think he's saying evolution is a religion and try to deny its science. I think that's what he's getting.
Yeah, but he's used evolution and science in the same sentence many times before.
Yeah, I don't know that it's different with Kent. Sometimes you say religion is. It's
like with.
Go ahead.
Sorry, buddy. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, that's all right. Go ahead.
It's like what I was refuting that Gavin guy from yesterday, Gavin Ortland, the guy that Jamie was propping up and pimping on his channel nonstop. Like double speak and talking out of both sides of your mouth and trying to label things as though you're being horribly oppressed while at the same time trying to do the exact thing that you're saying that is being taken. Like that's just a hallmark of these people. It's just a hallmark of charlatans and hucksters.
I wonder if Jeremy's butthole is ever jealous of the crap that comes out of his mouth.
Oh, God.
Notice I didn't curse once.
Good boy.
No, that was impressive, Dustin. I'm proud of you.
You're good, but you get a cookie.
Somebody give him a Scooby snack, and I don't mean Aiden Scooby. Because
I'm about to have a Scooby snack right now. I'm gonna have to.
I love how I just diss this guy, and everybody's all like, "Good job."
It's the way you did it, Dustin.
I'm gonna clip this. Oh, that was too perfect. Oh, that couldn't have been better planned if it was a strike with a freaking pinballs.
Okay, I'm gonna give you something to drink and restart this, and I'll only be gone for like a minute. But if you have something to say, I'll do when I get back.
Well, no, because I wanted to get back to this whole light, and because he just said that the universe didn't have any light because of the heat.
Okay. Well, but you two talk that, and I'll just go get something to drink. It don't matter which one. Either way, I'm getting something to drink.
Didn't the Bible say that God was separating the waters from the waters, and that the earth was without form for a period? Oh, That's weird. And then he
But
said,
you
"Let
know,
there be light."
the waters he's referring to there, right?
I mean, I don't know whether the people of the time that were writing knew what the waters God was referring to was, right? I mean, he has to do the. I think he has to have the time and the energy and the ability to explain things to a people that don't understand. Right?
I think that when you look at it from a context of ancient cosmology, it actually makes an abundance of sense, because the separating the waters from the waters, he means the waters from the heavens, because in ancient cosmology, it was thought that there was a firmament above us, and that past that firmament was a giant ocean of heavenly water. And that, well, why does rain fall from the sky? Why does water go upward only to descend backward down to the sky? Well, I mean, surely there has to be water up there. I mean, why else would the sky be blue? I mean, what else is blue? Water. So, I mean, it made intuitive sense to them that, oh, well, he separated the waters of the ocean from the waters of the heavens. But we know nowadays that there isn't a whole bunch. Like, there's water vapor, sure. But there isn't an ocean of water up there like the Bible describes it.
I mean, Aiden, if you're trying to explain something to a child, right, which is exactly what you would have to do as a being that provides for their family and world.
Right.
Okay. Which is exactly what he's dealing with, whether you want to acknowledge his existence or not. He has to speak in allegory. So if he's talking about waters being separated by waters, the only thing that was qualified up there was a plasma, was the neutron being stripped of its electron due to the heat, or the proton being stripped of the electron because of the heat. Okay, and protons and electrons and positrons being annihilated at super high speeds as they were colliding with each other.
Sure.
Right. So if plasma is considered a water, which it kind of is, it's gas is a water, it's a liquid. And if he's separating the liquids from the liquids, which we know of, like this thing called helium-2, which is a superfluid.
Right.
The only fluid that fights against capillary action.
Right.
We know this to be a fact. So, I mean, look, if I'm God and I'm trying to explain super complex cosmology to a people that use rocks as toothpaste, I mean, separate waters from waters is probably going to be sufficient for a few thousand years.
And yet God had us name every creature on the earth and told us that we had dominion over them.
I mean, look, you got to start somewhere.
Right, but like, you know what I'm saying though? Like, you're saying that you're saying that as though he's introducing things just one little step at a time, but we can see very clearly that when Adam and Eve were created, they weren't created as children. They weren't created with the intellect of children. They were created fully formed as adults. And they very clearly at least had the intellectual capacity to be able to converse on an adult level.
Okay, so but what can you say the same for their children?
For their children, perhaps not. But in any case, Adam and Eve are going to be this first people that God is going to be making all of these introductions to, as we say.
Right.
And as Genesis points out, it's not like he holds anything back with the things that he does introduce. When he introduces the animals, it's not like he says, oh, I'm only going to introduce certain animals to you, but I'm going to save other ones for you to find later, which is what actually happened in human history. No, according to the Bible, we knew every single animal right at the beginning, even though we're still finding new species every single year right now.
I don't think I think again, you're either intentionally.
This turned into a debate in and of itself.
It is.
what I'm
I think
saying.
you're intentionally being aloof right now, or you're completely ignoring my point. You
Hey,
know what
GG,
I'm
we'll
saying.
review this one next week with these two going at it.
Well, see, and that's the thing is, like, whenever Aiden and I go at it, it's always interesting. It always kind of, but no, you're. I mean, that's a clever jujitsu right there. That's a verbal jujitsu you're pulling on me. But no, I think you understand that I wasn't talking about Adam and Eve. I think you know that I was speaking about their progeny, and I think you also know that it would have been common sense after the fall that they wouldn't have been around forever. So they needed an example to go by.
I think that the idea that you were talking about their progeny wasn't necessarily obvious in the fact that you could have been speaking just as much of the youth of the human race as you were of the actual literal youth of those people, given the fact that humanity was a race that was just created, which is why I touched upon the concept of introduction and how God introduced things very thoroughly in the concepts that he did introduce humanity to in the context of Genesis.
I don't know how many times I said a couple thousand years and a people. And,
right. But you need to remember, though, Dustin, when you're going to use an analogy of, well, they're like children, well, humanity wasn't taught about the positron and the electron and the photon by God. We figured that crap out for ourselves.
You don't know that.
We figured that crap. Yes, we did.
No, you don't know that. You don't know that we figured.
We did.
You don't know that. You don't know that.
Dustin, I do know that. I do know that.
You absolutely do not know that.
I do know that because we have a fun, nifty thing called the scientific method, and I could retroactively prove things like the photon to you through the scientific method.
You can show me the recorded history. You could show me the argument from authority. You can show me your retroactive placed evidence, and I can either accept it or I can deny it. That does not
and I can recreate it at any time.
That does not prove that mankind didn't have hints or even some ancient knowledge, which, I mean, if that's what we're arguing about here. These people didn't have textbooks to refer from. There weren't professionals back then. They had to pull this crap clean out of their butt. We're talking about people that were using frog legs to prove the theory of electricity.
We're talking about people that were allegedly guided by an all-intelligent being that had total knowledge over everything to ever exist.
You can sit your ass in an F-22 right now and fly across the face of the earth at Mach 4. You're going to tell me that that kind of technology comes from a people that wasn't guided by anything?
I'm telling you that that technology absolutely came from a group of people that came up with that idea of their own volition. Yes.
I'm sorry. I don't buy it. I'm sorry.
Well,
I don't buy it.
I'm sorry, but that's literally just incredulity at that point, Dustin. That's literally just incredulity, and that's not an argument.
Yeah, look who's talking, Aiden.
Dude! Oh, really? Okay. All right.
Look who's talking, Aiden!
No, because I don't just have incredulity, unlike you, Dustin. Like I said, I have repeatable.
Oh, it's impossible. We have all this documentation and argument from authority. There's no way it could be any other way.
It's literally not even that. When it comes to proving something like the photon or the atom or something like that, that's something that you can do of yourself if you have access to the right equipment in order to do so. Like,
that's
this
another thing. That's another thing that bothers me about this. Is look, okay, Aiden, okay, evidence is abundant and it's very clear and it's also evident, right? I don't need you to explain to me how the magic pixies inside of my phone works. I just need to understand what method by which I operate it. And the proof is evident. Like, I don't need the, like, why do you have to go
You don't need to understand how the magical little pixies in your phone work, but TSMC does need to know that.
Maybe that's the case. Maybe not. You don't know that, Aiden. Right?
I do know that. I literally do know that. Because if they don't know how to manufacture that, if they don't know how to manufacture the things inside the phone, then the phone's not going to work, Dustin. Dustin, what you said was ridiculous.
Aiden, routine in manufacturing is one thing. You don't need to know the principles and underguiding guidelines from which they operate. Okay, I can build this thing. All I need is a list of instructions and parts. It's not hard. Okay, right? You could do it with you could do it from a person from Bangladesh. It's not hard.
Yeah.
The whole thing,
Yeah.
you don't have to understand how anything works in order to make this. You
I
know
often
what you're
build
saying is
lithography
complete and
machines in my
absolutely
backyard.
what you know what you're saying right now is complete and utter crap, dude. Okay, you don't have to understand anything about it in order to make it work. But the idea is that the evidence is very abundantly clear. I can look at this thing. I know it's working. I know it's sending sound waves over some form of electromagnetic radiation that's being translated through its cell tower in my immediate vicinity. And the only reason I know that is because the explanation flows together with the very actions that I'm taking right now. Okay, now if evidence is so abundantly clear for the cell phone, why is it not so evidently abundantly clear for evolution?
It quite literally is, but that's a totally other topic. We're going to go back to what Aslo was talking about earlier, because, Dustin, we can talk about that all day long in another video, but we've totally hijacked Aslo's video here.
Oh, no, it's all... I'm making sure I wasn't muted. Yeah, no, it's fine, because in about 5 minutes I need to run, and I can just go ahead and leave this running. If Gigi, wants to stick around, and I'd be back. Well, actually, more than that.
I mean, I don't have a problem closing out the topic that we currently had, and make no mistake, I have no problem talking evolution with you, Dustin, whatsoever. We've talked about it before in the past, so don't think that I'm doing like a runner or anything like that.
Yeah, because this happens every week. I mean, I don't care. I just use I mean, literally, I use the debate to get the topic, and then we talk about whatever, and we have yet to get through one, debate that we have, but we've had great conversations, and this is what the point of this is, not necessarily saying if Aiden was right or Kent was right, or it was just for discussion and something for us all to do instead of argue about whose God's bigger or who's got a bigger penis.
Yeah.
If plasma is classified as a gas and gas is classified as a liquid, then plasma de facto is a liquid.
I thought gas was a fluid.
Liquid, fluid, okay.
Well, no, those are different.
Fluid.
Those are different. Fluids are not liquids. A fluid is anything that flows. Air is a fluid.
Because it says yes.
I mean, technically, a liquid flows too.
Right. No, I'm not disagreeing with that, but I'm saying that to say that because it is fluid, it is therefore liquid is not true, because air is a fluid, and last time I checked, we don't breathe liquid.
Technically, we breathe a fluid which can be classified as a liquid if it's condensed to the it's condensed to the proper temperature. It absolutely can be.
Of course, there's liquid oxygen. That is a thing, but if we're not inside of a rocket tank, it's kind of hard to find that around this planet.
So,
anyway.
Are you saying that the plasma that consists of the original universe had no H2O in it whatsoever? Is that? But actually, this isn't even an argument I'm having with you. I'm having it with somebody in the chat. But he's saying that there was no liquids. I'm saying that if everything in the universe is consistent of the Big Bang, then there was liquids in the plasma, because there was H2O in its composite form before it became H2O.
I mean, I don't think at the very earliest stages of the universe that there was. Only because I believe at the very earliest stages of the universe, the only evidence of the highest order of chemical makeup at that point that we really have solid evidence for was
hydrogen, right?
Well, we have hydrogen, helium, and a little bit of lithium.
Oxygen as well. We also had oxygen in very small amounts. But that's not even the point. The point is, the precursors, that is the matter that became water, was in the plasma.
Sure.
Oh, sure. Okay. So they were that. So my analogies for separating the waters from the waters, in some, I give it in an arcane sense, in an archaic sense, has the best scenario for explaining something that would otherwise be considered an advanced scientific concept.
I mean, if they told me that was because that it got manufactured in the core of a giant ball of plasma out there in the middle of space, then okay, I would give it its due, but it doesn't do that. And the fact that it serves to tell a story that does not lead people toward the current understanding of the universe that we have right now, and I can point to people like Kent as examples exactly of that.
That's a faulty argument. They go, what do you mean? The controversy surrounding the Bible is exactly what sparked all the scientific endeavor that we have today. What are you talking about?
Endeavor, really? Are you saying that the Bible was the one exclusive, like there weren't any Arab scientists that weren't contributing anything whatsoever to our science?
Are you saying that the Arab scientists didn't contribute their discoveries to a higher power?
If you believe in Allah, then sure.
I mean, who cares what they believe it as? The idea is that I don't have to concede to the idea that we both worship the same God. Even they say that. No, you don't start the argument from that position. You can't escape it. The whole idea of religion is what sparked.
You're trying
there's no escaping. Go ahead and tell me the Aboriginals are out there with NASA, or like they got their own beakers. They're like they're out there making grass into gasoline. Like, come on, give me a freaking break.
Dustin, I will point you to a book called Guns, Germs, and Steel, The Fates of Human Societies by Jared Dinan, and that's a really good book on the exact topic that you're talking, because there's a reason why Native Americans weren't the ones that developed all those things, and we did. And there's a few different reasons for that. But that's a whole other topic for a whole other day. But it just is a quick summary. It primarily has to do with geography as well as the distribution of what crops as well as livestock we had available to us. That played a fundamental role as well as just shaping the fundamental makeup of
it's hard to focus on scientific discovery if the only thing you have to worry about is when your next meal. I understand the principle. Like it's not like I haven't thought about this, but the other end of the equation is you've got Aztecs that are living on mountaintops performing surgery on one another. What's your explanation for that?
I mean, like, what do you mean by explanation?
I mean, they had inventions up in the Aztec mountains. I mean, even the Incans, for crying out loud, before them.
Sure, the Incans the Incans practiced bronze working.
Right. So, I mean, when you say that there's a reason that they had technology on our end, no, I don't think that the reason has anything to do with the crops. I think that the technology was here, right? I think that
the Incans and the Aztecs had access to things that like the Plains North American Native Americans didn't have access to.
Well, I mean, look, you're talking about a people who simultaneously had superior technology and also believed that the weather had something to do with removing organs from people's body parts.
I know, it's almost it's almost like when you believe in a god that says don't mix crops in the same field, even though you know scientifically that crop rotation is actually better for crops in their fields, like stuff like that. You know, like it's crazy, isn't it?
I mean, you don't really want to go down that road because the Aztecs were creating shelves for hybrid breeding plants that could withstand the elevation. That argument isn't going to go very. That argument isn't going to go very far either.
Well, they adapted to their environment. Yeah, what's your point?
You're saying that was the reason, the holdback for the technological advances that we had. Are you telling me that because of the crops? But the thing is that the Aztecs had the Aztecs and the Incans had every amenity that the European colonizers did, but they never developed the technologies that the European colonizers did.
How old were the Aztec or the Incan civilizations? Dustin,
what difference does that make? They were metallurgy. They were making metallurgical jewelry.
and statues and ink, and they were moving stones the size of cities. What are you talking about? They probably had technology far and away more advanced than we did. Right?
No.
Okay, because it doesn't fit your narrative. That's just not possible.
No,
Aiden,
that's not what I'm saying.
How do you move a stone uphill that's thousands of tons without some kind of technological advancement? How do you do that, Aiden? How?
Thank you, Brianna. It's really not as complicated of a technology as you think. It just comes down to what resources you have available to you.
There's not a technology today.
All sorts of different cultures. Hold on. I can point to all sorts of different cultures all around the planet that employed that kind of tactic that you're talking about, like Rapa Nui, Easter Island. Their culture, it's hard to talk about more of an isolated culture than an island as isolated as Easter Island. And they were doing the same thing.
Why are you changing the subject, Aiden?
I'm not. You're the one that brought up rolling giant rocks around, and you said that that's because they had access to more advanced technology. So I brought up the vast distribution of that behavior amongst humans around the planet as a refutation to that point. There's nothing in that went against what you were saying.
I agree. Actually, you're proving my point.
No, I'm saying that there's nothing that went against you as far as getting off point, and you know that. You're playing coy. You're playing coy, and you know it.
The more remote area of the planet requires
coy,
more.
and you know it.
No, I'm not. You're playing coy. You're backing yourself into a corner. It's beautiful to see you paint. I love it.
You think I'm the one that's back? Okay. I mean, like, you're the one that's talking about, oh, this was because of some advanced technology. And I can point to you an example of some random group of people on a freaking island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean that figured this out.
No, they didn't figure it out. They used boats.
Yes,
How do you explain Incans pulling rocks up a mountain face? How do you explain that, Aiden? You're changing the subject.
Oh my God, just look at a book.
Look at a book. Okay, so I guess because it's so simple that we can reproduce it today, because there's not a technology today that can cut irregular rock and fit it together like a wall. There's not one. I happen to know. I took masonry. Not a technology today that can do that.
It's not technology that requires doing that. It's craftsmanship.
Oh, you can't cut a rock. You've seen some of the
Aiden and technology are two different things.
Pull up some of those rocks that are in that wall face. Okay, let's take a look at that. And you tell me that somebody took their time with hand tools and chipped out every little notch. I mean, you're full of shit, dude.
No, once again, you are acting like I'm backed into a corner, but at the end of the day, Dustin, when I strip these arguments that you're throwing at me down to their core, it's incredulity, bro. It always comes down to
it's really not incredulity. It's not. You can't. You're not explaining. You see, all you're doing. Oh, you're gonna strip it down. I'm like, okay, then explain to me how an Incan pulls a rock 50 tons up a mountain face, vertical.
I mean, can I immediately explain that to you off the top?
There's no explanation for it.
No, Dustin, I'm not a comprehensive encyclopedia of every single human civilization. I'm sorry, you're right. You caught.
Are you sure?
I don't know this one particular fact off the top of my head, and I'm not going to pretend like I do. But
okay, that's fair enough.
At the same time, I am sure that upon looking into that information, I could provide you with a variety of different sources that would be able to tell you how Incan engineering was conducted.
I'm sure Google will provide me with all the resources I need, Aiden. I'm sure that's the case. But I'm not. Look, Aiden, please just listen to me for a second here, because if you don't,
of human knowledge,
if you don't know, then maybe you could listen to me. Maybe I could tell you something that you don't know. Okay, those walls up there are designed with earthquake resistance, right? And the way that they're designed is by the irregular cuts.
anywhere you want to meet up, we'll meet up, and I'll beat you up.
No.
Is that necessary?
I found it funny. All right. Let's let Dustin finish.
Sorry.
Let's let Dustin finish. That was funny, but
I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing his hands do that after I smack him in the face, but I imagine that's the look I'd get too, right after I punch him right square in his face piece.
I'm gonna.
But
mute
no,
up.
look,
That's so you can continue
Aiden.
making your point. I'm gonna take a puff of legal tobacco. Give me a moment.
Oh, sorry about
Okay.
that. I have to show that video. It was so funny. What do you think of that video?
He looks like.
Continue making your point, Dustin. I'm listening.
Look, that's their whole thing is that those were designed to withstand earthquakes. All right, and that's not something, you don't just slap that together, right? You're not pulling 50,000 pounds by rope up a sheer milk clear. It's a mystery. We don't understand how they did it. But
wait a second, what the hell did I just listen to? I was like 2 feet away, and I'm hearing like a ghost all over the place. I'm looking around like, oh shit,
Jesus,
my ex-wives are coming after me.
Sorry.
No, great conversation so far. I'm actually enjoying this.
There is no explanation, though. There really isn't, Asho. Okay, I mean, we know how the Russians moved. I think it was like 70,000. I forget. It's some astronomical amount of weight on the stone, and they did it with round boulders. Right? They did it with like basically cannonballs, and they St. Petersburg somewhere in Russia. I think that's where they finally stopped.
Are you talking about the construction of the Amber Room?
Everybody.
No. Didn't they rob that?
Yeah.
The Nazis.
Supposedly
they did, but they rebuilt it.
I thought it was like still not founded at the bottom of the ocean, and they think they found it, but they're not 100.
I thought that they rebuilt it.
Huh,
I don't think that they could.
I'll Google it.
I thought no. I remember hearing that the artisans, because they basically, from what I remember reading, the original art of carving amber for the way that the room was made, it was a lost art as far as it not being something that anybody was currently practicing. But I'm pretty sure the Russian government paid a whole bunch of money to basically revive the art.
I put amber, not amber. Jesus, idiot.
That gold filigree and everything in that thing. No, there's a big huge stone that Russia was moving. I forget what it's called, but somebody needs to Google that too.
Okay, well, I did the Amber Room and said yes, it was rebuilt. It was looted by Nazi forces during WW2, obviously. The reconstruction process, which began in 1979, took 24 years and culminated in its reopening in 2003. So I was wrong. Aiden was spot on that one.
Well,
I didn't know that they rebuilt it, but I knew that
I knew
that the Nazis stole it. What's that? What's that, Gigi?
Go ahead.
Oh,
Gigi.
Everybody, guess who's here?
Who?
Bird or Pie.
Oh,
Bird or
great.
Pie.
There goes the show. It was a good show.
There goes the neighborhood.
Hi, Bird.
Well, but
right.
just as a side note, this just tells you what kind of bad, history the History Channel is. Because I watched this special on, they were talking about this boat and the Ember Room, or the Ember Room stuff was down there, or the original, Ember Room. Maybe is that what it was? But I have to go back and try to find that one even. So I was mistaken.
What were you saying, Aiden?
Oh, I was trying to broach the subject that we were talking about earlier about. Well, now I'm having a hard time remember because of that.
It was irregularly cut walls in the Incan and Aztec. Yes.
Thank you for
earthquake proofing. Yep.
So And I promise you, right hand to God, I haven't Googled anything, but if I had to give you an offhand answer for that, I would give you the fact that the Andes Mountains lie on the Pacific Ring of Fire, which, if you're not familiar, is a series of fault lines that are all across the Pacific Ocean.
Yes, I'm very familiar with this.
As a result of that, it lies on a very unstable
Sorry,
fault
Dusty, but
line.
that's funny.
And it experiences earthquakes frequently. Now, we see not just in Incan culture, but in all sorts of other cultures, like
all
Japanese
the way down to the
culture.
Olmec culture. Yes.
Well, like the Japanese and the Ainu cultures. They're both
Right.
cultures that independently were. Oh, what was that? Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Earlier, Spooky came in. It technically wasn't his birthday. Now it is where he's at, so it's his birthday. So
Happy birthday, Spooky.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Well,
But
old man.
Oh God, what was I saying? Dustin, help me.
Irregularly cut walls, and that the idea that the other cultures do earthquake proofing. I understand this. That's not the gist of what I'm saying. What I'm asking you is, how is a rock 50 tons plus hoisted vertically up the Andes Mountains?
Dinosaurs.
I'll tell you what.
That's
I will look at
at
that. Is true. That is true, Christian. I will look into that, and I will get back to you on that because I do not know off the top of my head. However, what I can say is that even if I do not find an answer, that it's important not to defer to what's typically in these sorts of circles referred to as the God of the Gaps fallacy, where when there is a gap in knowledge, immediately making an inference upon that gap and acting like, well, we don't know about what it is now, therefore we won't ever know. I mean,
no, I'm not making that inference. That's not where I'm coming from. This, look, what I'm saying is, when you're left with a line of what's the word I'm looking for, of material that's been ruled out, what's left over is generally considered the right answer. Now, where we cannot explain that a human body at those altitudes could even function at exertion because of the lack of oxygen, but still these stones got moved around. You're telling me that there's no, I mean, look, I would even accept that they took little sacks and filled them with air and then walked the distance and used the air to do something along those lines, right? So I don't know. You know,
I would had like 50,000 people in a line, and every single person just like pushed it up a little bit. You know,
they're gonna run out of air. I mean, literally 50,000 people. What are you gonna do? Like, I mean, you're so far up. I'm serious. Look, you ever seen those alpacas?
Like the same kind of conversations I would have with my friends while I was like smoking weed in the back shed behind the school or something like that. Just like, how do we handle this?
Who's this guy?
There has to be a technology. There has to be something that's doing the work, bro. Like it doesn't just happen by itself, Aiden. It doesn't happen by itself, and there's no explanation.
There's Brandy. Hey,
That's
Brandy.
not, once again, a point to say that even I will look into this as soon as I have an opportunity to do so. Like, if it weren't for the fact that if I go onto Google and here at the same time on my phone, it has a temper tantrum.
It'll kick you out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand, but Aiden, I'm just trying to tell you, bro. Look, the conventional answers aren't going to work on this one. You have a few factors that are working against you. Number one, you're so high up, the oxygen is just insufficient. Number two, there's no technology that exists today. You can't even mold it. You can't even take like puzzle pieces, put like cement in there and make it work right. It doesn't work. It never comes out right. You always have to fill in the gaps somewhere. These pieces are perfect.
Azel.
Yes, sir.
Randy also has gone on the Zatter channel, the Zatter video of you versus Bubblegum.
Me?
Yeah, the one video I had.
Oh, the videos that you made. I thought you meant me and Bubblegum debating. I said, no, we've had interactions and disagreements, but not a debate. I've never debated.
It wasn't a debate.
YouTube. Yeah. Okay. I think that's what you're saying.
Clip YouTube arguing. And Brandy comment asked, does your mom want Subway on there too?
Brandy, I mean, actually, I know her. I used to work with her. And that's who I'm going to meet here at like 9. That's why I'm not, I wasn't going to get off here at 8:30 so I could be up there, but she's running a little bit late. But yeah, I'm letting her borrow some money because she's bailed me out a few times when we worked together.
Oh, that's nice.
Because she doesn't get paid until tomorrow. So it's like, yeah, and she got 2 sweet daughters and a son that's similar to mine, but mine's worse and older. So yeah, when you said that, I looked at the name and I said, somebody's freaking trolling me. And then I realized that Brandy does come in here. When I did she'd come in all the time on trivia. Sorry, continue.
So
that's fine.
As far as this is concerned, Dustin, the Incans.
Look, wait, Aiden. I want you to understand something. Hold on, but I need to clarify something. I need to preface this. My argument isn't that because there isn't an explanation that there's a God. My argument is that because there isn't an explanation, there's a technology. A little bit different. Proceed.
Answer Maud, really quick. Yeah, you can borrow all the money you want. You're going to have to drive her and get it, though, because Brandy is. Continue, boys. Thank you.
Do you know that one of the biggest arguments used by moon landing deniers is the notion that we've quote unquote lost the technology to be able to go to the moon?
Here comes a boner.
NASA claims that, Aiden. You find NASA claiming that their technology is lost.
Right. Do you know why they claim that? When you look into the reason why they claim that
I know the explanation, Aiden. Yes, I know what their explanation is. But they say that a lot of the tapes were lost because they were improperly stored. A lot of the technology got sold off to China. There's a lot of things that they said. Do you realize that they had a powdered metal process for those silos that they called engines? Right. They were doing 3D printing before 3D printing was a thing.
There is a lot of things that you brought up there that are factors for sure. But another important one to consider is the fact that the manufacturing or something like that.
Right, that's true. That is true.
Is that
a lot of
Sandman
those processes?
No, that's
a lot of those processes got patented and taken off to different businesses. So yeah,
well, they got patented, but they got patented, and the trade secrets.
Yes,
for how those things were done were so closely kept because they were so paranoid about them falling into Soviet hands that there were certain things. Now, thankfully, we didn't lose everything by any stretch of the imagination as far as those documents are concerned.
Everybody,
but
sorry.
There are.
Sorry.
Yeah, we know Sandman's here. Yep.
Yeah. Hey, Sandman. Hope you're doing well. No, it's okay. No, you're the host of the show. You can interrupt whenever you want, man.
Oh, you can stop this if you want. You can shut this down if you want.
Yeah.
Even me, Gigi, to be honest. Your channel. You're just being kind enough to let us, use it.
Hi, Sandman.
But in any case, when you're talking about an endeavor as complex as putting a human being on the surface of the moon, you've got to remember that that endeavor is only as strong, like any endeavor, as its weakest link. And when you have certain patents, whether it be anything as large as the main stage of a rocket booster to anything as small as an oxygen canister sealant. You know,
they
like
use flexible metal, Aiden. They use flexible metal. They use 3D printed plastics. They use switches that are made of things that flex, right? Like they use entire analog program computers for backup reserve systems. Like that, yes, there's a lot of things that they claim that they lost. They didn't lose it. It just got patented and brought into a company. These things are well
those
known.
things do happen though, Dustin.
Right.
Like to act like this government that is running us and overseeing all of our affairs is this like airtight institution that never makes any kind of mistakes or anything like that. Like it's kind of
I'm
silly.
not making that argument. How did we get all the way over to NASA though? Like I thought we were talking about rocks and mountain faces and lack of oxygen
and plasma and
gets these here.
I mean, we've talked about a lot of things.
Hey, watch your video, Gangster Ghost.
For
17 minutes, we going, oh, you want to beat up? I'll beat you up.
I got that. I have to credit that to Big Bad Mama. That's where I got that from.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Dustin, what are you gonna do?
I don't care. I got a lot of things I could do.
Wise word.
But I'm just saying, Aiden. Look, if you can't explain these things, then there has to be a technology. Okay, there has to be. There has something because you can't explain it to me from a special kind of animal that they used, right? They're not that they don't that there's we have a problem with the oxygen content at that level. So
that's not true. If I have a puzzle that's super advanced, if I have a Rubik's Cube that's like 843 pieces by 843 pieces, or whatever the proper number would be in order to have it for a cube root. You know, if you have like a super advanced Rubik's Cube and you have to solve that, it's not a matter of technology solving that puzzle. It's a matter of technique. It's a matter of knowing what methods in order to properly employ. And the same is
Rubik's
true
Cube
for
needs
something
to
like
be manufactured, doesn't it? That requires technology.
You were accusing me of trying to be pedantic earlier and getting off on other topics, but I'm sorry, but I was specifically talking about that not because it's a Rubik's Cube that can be manufactured. And I think you know well that that's not what I was alluding to, good sir. I'm alluding to the fact that if we have a problem on our hands of not knowing how something like this is developed, we have a puzzle. And the very same is true for whatever Incan architect or engineer, whoever you want to call him, or mason, would have had to have faced, or all of those people really, would have had to have faced when they were making this a reality. They had a puzzle.
Necessity is the mother of all invention, Aiden. Necessity is the mother of all invention. That is true. But the idea that the invention is not technology, right? I mean, listen, we cannot duplicate the things they did back then. It's not possible, Aiden. Right? You go ahead, go talk to yourself some masons and ask them if they can reproduce a retaining wall in the form of an Incan rock wall. Where it's tight, where there's no gap.
Yeah.
Sorry,
go ahead, Gangster.
Any of these masons, are they any of them free?
They are free.
I imagine there's a few of them that are free. There might be a few that are costly.
So
I'll tell you what.
Masons?
That's right, Gigi. So I'll go talk to a modern mason, and they won't be able to they'll tell me I won't be able to recreate that. That's the point that you're making here?
What I'm telling you is that if they did recreate it, it would take, there wouldn't be an amount of money that they would take. There's no technology that would do it for them, right?
you would have like it would
Yeah, because
require.
it wouldn't take technology. That's a good point, Dustin. Thank you.
I mean, if you can find me a person that
You're
can
making my point for me.
I'm actually challenging you to make the point. If you can find someone that can reproduce the wall, go ahead and prove me wrong. Please do. I want to see it. I want to see the wall.
Mic check.
And it can't be no like cement insert. You got to take individual rocks, cut them, fit them
I'll
together.
build it in my backyard this weekend.
I want to see it.
I'll do
Hold on,
it.
everybody. Same man. We can hear you, little guy.
Could you hear me?
Yeah. How are you, little guy?
Not bad, big guy. Just chilling.
Damn it, Dustin. I was supposed to go on a scoot, and I was supposed to go like over an hour ago, and you've held me hostage.
Oh, sorry about that, Aiden.
Dude, you just that's a compliment. I love having a conversation with you too, Aiden.
I do. I do as well, Dustin. I'm sorry, Gangster Ghost. Go ahead.
That's all
I
right.
apologize.
Sorry about that, Dustin. Aiden. We didn't meant to keep you.
No, you didn't keep me by any stretch of the imagination. If you guys want to keep going with this, that's totally cool. I think I am.
I kind
of
of have to drop out too. I got to get some food in me. I love you guys though.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Great
good chat,
conversation.
Dustin.
And Dustin, thank
Good
you for
chat.
not cussing.
Love you too, Dustin.
And
You
I don't
can
know.
eat.
I don't
You
know
can
if-
ingest fecal matter with both hands.
I can deal with that one.
Oh, that's nice.
On my channel, you'll get away with a little bit more.
That's good. That was good,
Yeah,
Dustin.
that's a nice thing to say,
You're
little guy.
restrained.
I think what we're
I
really
don't
nice,
like you,
little guy.
Daniel.
We're all
That's
proud
never
of you.
gonna change, bro. It's never gonna
Is Herb
change.
still here or is he gone?
I'm out of here, guys. I love you.
That's the way I like
Have a
it.
good one, Dustin.
Bye.
See ya.
Hi, Daniel. What do you think of that picture I made of Clay and his other son?
I'm gonna just shut that down.
I didn't see it
We
yet.
will- Just as a
You're
side note,
shutting it
next-
down for now? No.
Well, no, the review, since Dustin left and you guys are having a great conversation, adding a lot to it. Usually I don't pick up where we left off, but next Thursday we're going to be on the same video and continue from there, since we didn't get real far, but it did produce a lot of great conversation, especially between Aiden and Bust and Duck.
I guess you guys were pretty early into the stream when
So
I
what were you
joined,
guys
weren't
talking about?
About building stuff with rock and
Rock, paper, scissors.
yeah.
That helps you. Yeah. Oh, and really quick, once again, I don't know if Carp's still here. I know Mod is here. Me and Mod kind of talked about this, so with a few other people behind the scenes. And at least, when I'm modding or on my channel, we're trying to cut down on the cussing, especially Gigi doesn't like the cussing. He doesn't like the R word. And maybe we'll start cutting down on some of the, the fighting, which we're always going to have fights. You can't get away from it, but have more conversations like we do now. But I mean, I know like Daniel, not to throw him under the bus. I mean, he's actually, it's a compliment to him, but he doesn't allow this crap on his channel and it'll shut it down. And we should, even though I'm an atheist, we have a lot of theists in here and I love talking to theists, personally, but we are going to probably crack down. And it really got me thinking with Carp and what happened with Mod, not to stir that back up, but we're going to have certain rules, and it's not going to be real, bad, but and I'm just as guilty. It's not that I'm innocent at all, but I'm trying not to cuss as much, except in the real world.
No, I'm guilty of it as well.
To come in and feel welcome and not spaz out in our community and not be like other communities.
Same man. What do you think of that video I made of you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I love the video, Gangster. It's pretty cool.
I'm getting the Gigi did.
Azo, are we
I
still
beat him
allowed
again.
to,
Woo! Sorry.
Are we still allowed to drink? Drinking allowed?
Oh yeah, no. Drinking's mandatory.
Oh, okay.
So far the 3 rules we do have. we do have 3 established so far, but first one's obviously no cussing, and that includes the R word. The second one is no shorts.
No shorts.
No shorts.
Pajamas?
Those are acceptable as long as they're not short pajamas.
Okay.
But you can still wear your so-called kilt there, Sandman.
You won't persecute me, Azo.
Right. No, I'm wearing shorts myself. You know, and then do not disrespect the Baja is the rules. I mean, nothing major, but you know, just common sense and courtesy. You know, is what I'm pushing for, and I'm just trying to get. You know, Mod is in agreement. You know, I'm sure Carp is since he's part of Gigi's channel, and you know, I believe I've talked to Gigi about this. I think in the end we'll all get around, but you know, in side chat maybe not so much worry about it, and maybe that be a little bit more free, but still, you're gonna have theists and people that don't like that, even atheists. And I think we lose people that way. That probably would add to this community greatly. I mean, we can't get rid of Sandman, so let's get some better ones around him.
Sandman. I use that avatar of yours right there.
Exactly. Yeah, that video was pretty cool. I watched it like 3 times.
Wait, how close is she?
Yeah.
Daniel Newman loved it a lot.
Yeah.
Right,
how you doing, Daniel? Aiden.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool.
Hey.
Yeah.
I think it's funny that you made Clay an Orthodox.
Sandman. Were you around yesterday for yesterday's stream? Did you catch it?
A little bit.
I caught a little bit, but then you shut it down, like when I got in. So again, I was late to the.
Oh, I guess so. Yeah.
I heard you pulled off.
I absolutely would in a heartbeat. Spooky.
Yeah.
It's worth a rewatch for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Aiden killed it. Yeah, he did a great job just showing the history of the church, and what's so great about it is Aiden's not a believer in God, so it's like completely unbiased.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Well, Dan, we're working on Dustin. I mean, tonight, as an example, even though both him and Aiden don't agree, they had a civil conversation and not one bad word came out of his mouth. And I'm not saying I'll slip all the time, literally, because that's funny. With me, it's automatic reaction. If I say F, oh, sorry, Gigi, I didn't mean that, I'll go on and on and on and on. But I think we need to be more aware of not having to get to that point, especially me. I'm not excluding myself of, trying to excuse our language, for Gigi. And Gigi is not the only one, this is for anybody that might want to come in and gets discouraged, especially Christians,
Like Christian Pike?
So how do you navigate when Dustin
Christians
how
are
do
the
you
worst.
How do you navigate it when Dustin has like a Tourette's episode?
Well, and that's what basically my thought is, and this ain't the rule because I'm wanting to have a meeting with at least your channel is set, Daniel. You might even want to sit in and with this meeting, give us ideas maybe or not. But like Mod, like I said, Gigi definitely moves since I'm going to be streaming like later at night now, every so often instead of the day, because it seems like a lot of people are lonely out there at night.
If God gave somebody Tourette's, it was so they could use it. What's the problem?
Well, there's there, Spooky, and I'm not going to get into here, nor will I defend my actions or my choice there for my channel. But I know that a lot of people that are channel owners know the story behind the attacks on Earl and stuff like that. But I mean, and I'm not pushing back on you personally, but if you want to talk to Titan and be BFFs with them, that's great. I'm not going to hold that against you. Me, it ain't going to happen. He is a whatever he is. And if I need to, I will, dig out my old, videos and play some of the great of Titan Uranus greatest hits and understand where I'm coming from.
That's all Claude. Hi, Claude.
Oh, yeah, and Claude's band too.
Welcome to the show, Claude.
Yes, thank you. What have you been talking? I missed all when I came on. I saw this photo of Kent in a yellow T-shirt, which is actually quite appropriate because he's a coward.
Aiden debated Kent.
All right. Well,
that's
Aiden would have wiped the floor with Kent.
Yeah.
Well, it's happened once or twice, perhaps.
Yeah, he had 2 times. The first time was on Brett's show.
The first one is lost media, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Gigi, I'm going to run real quick up here to meet, Brandy. I'm going to be gone probably 15 minutes or so. If you want to keep it going, fine. If you want to shut it down, fine. Because if I come back and I'm not really tired since I slept so much,
Thank you
I
for
may
your
start,
permission. Yes.
another stream on my channel, for a little bit, but I haven't decided quite yet.
You're a good
What's your
young man,
channel? What's your channel down in the private, Azza?
Oh man, you want me to? I don't self-promote. Gosh, hold on, I get the.
You didn't. I asked you.
I know. That's why some people make fun of me. It's like, well, how can you, have a stream and only be at, like, right now I'm stuck at, well, not got game room, I guess, somewhere. And I don't do this for numbers. I really don't. I do it for, I'd rather have 5 people in the stream like we have, even more than that, on some of our late night streams, and have some great conversation, joke around and laugh. And yeah, I do get out of control with my mouth a few times, but I like the idea. I really do. And somebody in the background is, tell me I should do it. And but then it's like, yeah, I might as well. I'm trying to find the right one. Oh gosh, and she'll just have to wait on me. That's on her. She wants money, I give it to her, but
look at Dan.
Wait. There you go. That's an easy one. And if anybody else wants to put a link in, I mean, like Mod, put yours in there. I don't even know if we got any new people in there. Hey Dixie, how you doing? But Dixie has a channel. If you like listening, sweet little girls talk about breasts when she's reading a book, I quite enjoy it myself. No, there's more than that goes over there. But I'm just trying to get everybody to get their, promote channels, and maybe we'll have a lot more creators doing stuff like this.
Sam, man, what do you think of that show last night with TTOR?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. You guys were...
I'm going to remove myself, Gigi, so you have one more spot. Okay?
You were questioning the AI?
Yeah, they were talking to the
I was
AI.
too busy asleep because it was so boring.
Yeah,
that was literally what I told Gangster Ghost. I was like, dude, I try to watch that. It's so boring unless there's something like that he's doing that's interesting with AI, like auditing its self-awareness, or like having it analyze like something that it hasn't normally done before. But like just having a conversation about books you like obviously it's just gonna be like, very good job for being such a human of good taste.
Or that's a good
I
question.
agree.
What do you think about it?
Yeah.
Like a psychologist.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, man, this shouldn't be streamed right now. This should be this is really boring. But then again, it's his thing. I just found it really boring, and maybe I was being close-minded.
He wanted to restream it on my channel and stuff. And we
I think you were.
I personally love the Aiden show.
Well, yeah.
Was not a fan of the TTOR show.
I think the analytics kind of showed whose show kind of came out on top there, but that's all I'm going to say about that. Anyways, you guys have a good one. I'm going to have a good time outside before the sun goes completely down. Take care, guys.
Do you mean
all right, enjoy.
A good time? A good time in a Kent Hovind way, Aiden?
That is right. And then I'm going to go out and have a very gay old time, but I mean gay in the old way, yes.
Gay old Perry?
That is right, Gangster Ghost. That is correct.
I was watching Kent on something called the Michelle Moore Show. I think she's another one of those fake doctors. And he's just lies and lies about his case and everything. So I contact her to see if she will have the Claude on. I don't have a reply yet, but his lies about his case are getting worse by the day. He's just a dreadful charlatan of a man.
Well, I hope that you're able to get on there then.
Yeah, I did warn her that he's on the lookout for a, fifth wife. She better be careful.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you can warn them.
Are you going to be his fifth wife, Claude?
Sorry, am I going to be his fifth wife? No, I'm not that kind of girl.
Okay. How you been, little guy? Did you have fun?
Yes.
Oh, that's good. What were? Yeah, there was 2 debates Aiden had with Kent. One was on the Brett show. Second, the PG show. Bert Pike had, I think, maybe 2 or 3 debates with Ken.
Oh.
The only unfortunate thing I find about the first debate and the second one is that I feel like I did pretty decently in the second one, but I feel like I did really good in the first one. Like, I feel like I did, and that's always been the reason to me as to why Kent always not Kent, Brett never released it, because if I did poorly and Kent just totally trounced me in that debate, then he would have just had that released right away. But no,
I was going to say, where can we see that?
Out there.
Yeah, can we see that debate, or has Brett not put it up?
Not the first one, unfortunately. The first one I had was in, I think it was either 2022. I think it was the first one was in 2022. So, yeah, that one has basically been lost. The only person who has it is Brett. So if you want to ask anyone about it, ask Brett. I doubt that he'll release it, though.
Yeah. I don't think I'll bother.
Yeah, I think that would be about as much of a waste of breath as trying to convince Kent not to get remarried again. But anyway. Yes, well, you guys have a good night.
Take care, Aiden.
Take care, Aiden.
God be with you.
Daniel Newman. Do you see that picture I made of Clay with his kid, his son?
Well, he actually has a daughter.
Yeah, no, I mean this picture I made him with, had him with a kid, a son. This one. Is it crazy?
Yeah, I haven't seen what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was crazy. I'll show you.
I guess I'll take your word for it until I see it.
Yeah. It's
How was your day? Gangster?
Yeah.
How was your day?
Okay, how's yours?
Yeah. Just got home, actually. Not long ago.
Here's
Running
Claude's Clay's long lost son.
Oh, wow.
His long lost son?
When he was in the Civil War, he got married to this lady from Japan.
I don't think that's a Civil War uniform there, Gangster Ghost.
Oh.
That looks like a World War II.
Yeah. Looks a little bit more like on the German side.
Oh, German side. Jawohl. Schnell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who was the designer for their stuff? I forget the name of their clothing designer. Like, was
Hugo
really
Boss.
good. Yeah, Hugo Boss. Yeah.
I
the
thought it
suit
was
that I'm wearing in my
Claude.
meme there, my little avatar.
Was it you, Claude?
It was me, the Sandman.
Oh, the Sandman? Oh.
Yeah, that's a Hugo Boss suit right there.
Oh, nice. Oh,
Thank you.
here's his other stuff I want to show you. It's funny.
Okay, what do you got? Show me.
It's funny. I got Daniel Newman saying blah, 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 blah. Look at him.
Yeah, for 17 minutes. That's like that's what the CIA is going to be using against like the Hajis.
Oh no.
I
haven't actually seen that. What did you just make that or what? 46 minutes ago. What Dan the What is this?
I really hope that doesn't become viral.
What was
like,
the
oh, you're the bubble guy.
What was the conversation about?
That's what I want to be known for.
What was the conversation about, Daniel?
That was when I was talking to Dustin, where he was just like, "Oh, meet me. Let's meet up, and I'll fight you." And I was just like, "All right, let's do it." And then he was just like, "Never mind." And I was just like, "Yeah, that's right."
Sorry, I had to give credit where credit's due. Big Bad Mama is what I got.
BBM, you found the clip.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I got the.
There's a.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, there's a whole economy under clipping. Like there's streamers, and then there's clippers, and really, you kind of you sometimes need both to really make the ecosystem work for the memes and the content. Yeah.
I think Gangster's he's notorious for memes, eh?
Yeah, he's got the meme mindset.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that video made a same man. Use that avatar right there. The sad same.
The sad man.
Yeah, where you're run away from the priest for.
Hey. The priest came after me. Did you make a video on me? Come here, you little. I have to run quick.
They talk about you dancing with Clay and Daniel.
And I'm like, but it wasn't me. It wasn't me. Yeah, it's you. We know that suit.
Oh, funny. And yeah, I did this other video where Tim have him sing his ICP song. The Juggalo Preacher.
That was pretty good. That one was your best one.
Yeah. So funny.
Yeah, you're traveling soon, man.
Yeah, next month. July.
Yeah, I'm going to New York probably tomorrow. I'll probably go tomorrow.
Oh, how new is
What are
this?
you doing in New York?
Huh?
Why are you going to New York?
Well, we're just gonna hang, chill out.
Weird.
Yeah.
Who's we?
Me and Anonymous.
You and one of your girlfriends?
No, I don't have a girlfriend. Can't have a girlfriend. Can't just be doing what I was doing before. No, just a friend.
Oh, it's gonna be you and Claude.
Me and Claude.
You got what I need, but you say he's just a friend. You say he's just a friend. Oh, baby.
It was so funny.
Yeah, we're just gonna chill out, but we're gonna be chilling more in Jersey.
The old Jersey is in the UK.
Yeah, like Hoboken, you mean old Jersey? Like
yeah, and the old York's also.
Yeah, Hoboken is like right. It's right there. It's like the town across Manhattan, like where the Lincoln coming off the Lincoln Bridge tunnel, I should say. You would end up. First exit is like Hoboken. Once you get out of the tunnel and you go around up, and then you. Yeah.
Claude, he's been in all kinds of countries all around the world. Right,
Yeah,
Claude?
well, he's in Japan, isn't he, Claude?
No, Singapore.
Singapore. Oh, Nehoma. Do you speak a little Cantonese
Chinese,
or
Mandarin. Yeah.
Mandarin? Neho or
Ni hao, ni hao.
Ni hao ma.
Yeah.
多少钱?
I don't know. I don't really speak any Mandarin because in Singapore everybody can also speak English very well. So
yeah.
I speak Mandarin. Ting tong, ting ting tong, ting tong. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It's more like 少数啥西想想什么的啊，少数啦少我啊，啥一。
Oh, konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa. Jess.
Pork fried rice.
What's happening?
Are you there, Jess?
Yeah, what's up?
I know, guy. What you doing? Watching TV?
How you doing there, little guy? Did you do my request yet with the Lady Clay and Lady Aiden?
I have to wait till my app stuff is acting up. So, but I will work on it.
You got Gangster Ghost working on a project for you.
Yeah.
Little AI project. So I was impressing people with my Mandarin skills. Jess, do you know any Mandarin?
Nope.
Okay.
Szechuan sauce, is that Mandarin?
Yes.
Which one? Soy sauce?
Szechuan sauce.
Szechuan sauce?
Yeah.
Oh.
Ching ching. That's about it.
Ching ching chong.
Mayo means yes, right? Claude?
I don't even know that.
Mayo and
yeah.
I
only know the one you said to begin with, which was "How are you?"
Ni hao ma.
Yes.
Is Brother Pike around?
I have no idea. He's always somewhere, lurking, ready to get you.
Ready to pounce.
Right.
You want to talk to him about oneness again?
So my friend, I just kind of made a new Orthodox friend, and he's about to start at St. Ticon's, and I heard a podcast he was on, and he kind of.
Oh, is he the guest, not the host?
The guest.
Ah, so that guy is the guy you want to talk to, Christian Pike.
Yes.
Interesting. You know, I was listening to very carefully to what he was saying because I watched the whole stream that you shared. When he was talking about heretic tongues, I thought that was really interesting because, like, the idea is the recipient isn't filled with the Holy Spirit enough to understand the words. Like, the idea of, like, I could tell you more about God, but you wouldn't understand them. Like, you wouldn't understand the language of it. I don't think that's meant to be like ching 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 chong. You know, it's not supposed to be like that. Like, that's not the type of tongues he's talking about. It's like more of a spiritual comprehension of, like, what is your nous able to understand.
Yeah, and here I'll put it in the private chats. He sent me this. He's OCA, by the way, because he's going to St. Ticon's.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm pretty. I was glad to hear that. So that's exciting. Okay,
so
continue. I'm sorry.
Here, but here's the bad news. So he's just now starting to attend St. Ticon's, and his bishop has requested that he stays off social media. So if that conversation with Christian would happen, it would probably be like a private three-way conversation between me, Christian, and him.
There's nothing like a private three-way. I've never had one myself.
Have they always
That's
been
a
out
French
in
word,
public?
isn't it?
Yeah.
Ménage à trois.
Yeah, mange à trois. Yeah.
Manga et toi.
No, ménage à toi.
Menagerie.
Menagerie.
Wow.
No.
Trois is three. So a menage. Yeah.
We're not at Dinosaur Adventureland now.
Anyway, he said, like, the big thing to understand as an Orthodox, when you're talking to someone who's a oneness Pentecostal, is really just the concept of what a person is.
Yeah, that's always what I kind of went to Christian Pike about, was hypostasis.
Hypostasis, and there's a great, here, I'll put it in here. He gave me this link. Here, I'll put it. Oh, you can't even get it. I'll just email it to you. You're driving. I don't want to make you crash trying to grab that.
I know it might make a lot of people happy.
I hope no one will be happy. Anyway, he sent me this. I just sent you the link. But
you're all buddies.
I'm a good little buddy, huh?
Yes, you are.
Also, he told me something super cool about the lives of the saints and Saint Thomas. You know, everybody calls him Doubting Thomas, but like true Orthodox icons will say the belief of Thomas.
Belief of Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's something that
matter.
a lot of my priest always made that a very like poignant point whenever we commemorate Thomas, because it wouldn't be right to know somebody by a mistake, and like really, this is part of like being a human being. Like he was a rational person, you know, and he wasn't just going. It's not that he didn't believe Christ; it's just that he didn't believe the other apostles. He thought that maybe they were misled because they went through such a traumatic experience. Like, could you imagine, like, you're around this person, like, all the time. You love this person because they're your best friend, but they're also God. And it's like you watch God dying. What is going to happen to you? Like, it's going to seem like the end of everything unless you were paying attention. And it's almost like we kind of come back to this what was it called? Oretic tongue. It's like, Christ told them what was going to happen, but they didn't seem to understand it.
Are you talking about Ugaritic?
Was it Udaritic or Auritic?
I thought it was Ugaritic. Are you talking about what?
Yeah, he used a term for it.
Yeah.
I thought he said Auric, but it's Euritic.
I
couldn't see how it was spelled because he just pronounced it.
Yeah. I think it's called Ugaritic.
Yeah, I'd like to see that word and define it. I want to know the etymology and like what that word means.
It's spelled Ugaritic, and it's a
Ugaritic.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like the way it's pronounced, it's hard for American speakers.
So you said EGU?
Ugaritic. It's an extinct Northwest Semitic language. Ugaritic. Yeah.
Udaritic tongues. And what does it mean?
Yeah. It's
It means like something.
It's an extinct language that a lot of bits of major literary text are written in, particularly during the Baal cycle.
The what cycle?
The Baal cycle.
What's the Baal cycle?
Oh, dude, you need to listen to Lord of Spirits.
What?
There's so much about it. It's a text about the Canaanite god Baal, a storm god associated with fertility. You know Baal,
Baal.
the one in the Baal.
Yeah, B-A-L-L. B-A-A-L, yeah, Baal.
Yeah.
Oh, look at Lady Aiden.
Okay, I know who he is because of what I used to do. So
yeah,
I'm aware of him.
So the Baal cycle consists of 6 tablets itemized as KTU 1.1 through 1.6. There's 6 tablets. And they're about the cosmic battle between the storm god Baal and the sea god Yam, where the former attains victory.
How was your day, Jess?
It's going good. I'm about to go pray. I had a great conversation. Okay, so that's Lady Aiden. Where's Clay?
Oh.
We need Lady Clay. Oh my God.
Yeah, some people. Lady Clay, yeah, I don't think so.
So you're saying the Baal saga or cycle?
Cycle.
Like a bicycle or saga?
Cycle. It's the cycle. Okay. It's about the war between the two gods, and it's like an epic.
And is that supposed to be is that supposed to be like a foreshadowing, a prefigurement, or something that the pagans had? Or what's it?
Man, I don't really feel super worthy to like go super in depth with it, but it's pretty much about on Lord of Spirits. They discuss it a lot. It says the period that it was written for was from 1500 to 1300 BCE.
Okay.
and it just kind of talks about the petty wars between gods, and like just all those. I don't know it as well as like someone like Father Stephen DeYoung be able to explain it.
I just meant like, what is the significance to Christianity? Like, why did they talk about it? What was the context?
There's. Hold on.
Is it the same pantheon that Yahweh comes from?
So yeah, you're talking about the divine council, right?
Well, like Yahweh was at one time like part of a group of other gods,
Storm
the divine
gods.
council, whatever you want to call it.
The
But he
divine
was like
council, yeah.
he was like was he the fire god? He was like the fire god or the war god or something like that.
So Baal's a storm god. Yam's a sea god. There's a bunch of them. There's El.
Oddly enough, El should have been if you go by like structure and everything, El should be the
El's like
supreme god.
Zeus.
I don't know how Yahweh got that.
Yeah, but Baal is a. Hold on, I'm trying to find the. There's so many details in the who kills who and.
Yeah,
Wait.
I don't know why people think the origins are so much different or original compared to other religious mythologies, because it's really not. Batman, though, I still want to get your perspective of something. So if you have time in a bit, you should jump up, and when they're done talking about this, I shall get your perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Baal or Baal, however you want to pronounce it, just basically means Lord. And so a lot of these gods' names just mean Lord. Like Adonai also just means Lord. It's just Lord in different languages.
Well, sure,
So
but if you've got lords killing lords, the Lord can't be killing themselves. So what good does it do to equivocate them?
It's just the name for God, and the name for Lord. In other
So
languages.
so Lord killed Lord and God killed God. Is that what you're saying?
No, I would say that like you could confuse the title with the person. So like if you're in an area with a new language and you're using that language, and we know the Jews did this. For example, the Septuagint was written in Greek, and now all the Jews were typically speaking in Greek. If the scribes knew Hebrew, but like whatever culture they were around, they adopted. So if they're going to talk about their God.
Did he freeze?
I did freeze. I don't know if you guys heard the last thing I said. I don't know.
You just said God.
Kind of like if they're going to talk about their God. I understand where you're going with that, but my only problem with that is that a lot of these names for these competing lords or gods or whatever aren't coming from culture to another culture. It is literally a culture has multiple gods, period. The idea that Christianity started out in monotheism is like, or came from a monotheistic culture is just not
no
true.
gods before me. So that would imply there were other gods.
Correct. Yeah, Judaism used to be polytheistic for a long time, and they went through cycles of going back to polytheism.
Right. It was Zoroastrianism that was more monotheistic, although they are closer to a true dichotomy than Christianity is. But their Lord is also more benevolent and less violent than the Christian God. Similar story, though. The whole created everything, and in creating everything, they overlooked the God overlooked a flaw in his prized creation, which happened to be humans. And of course, in order to fix this flaw, he was going to have to send a piece of himself to the earth to be sacrificed.
That's not what we believe as Orthodox.
Pixie, how are you?
Good.
Is it true what I heard?
What did you hear?
That you're looking into Orthodoxy?
I look into a great many things. I'm looking into several things right now, 2 of them being cults, just because I can. Kind of deciding which one I want to infiltrate.
You want to infiltrate a cult?
Oh, it wouldn't be my first one. It would be my fourth one.
Are you working for the CIA?
No,
Are you CIA,
the first one I did it because I was researching. I was researching for a story I was writing, and I wanted to know like some particular ways, like communication patterns and stuff that they had. So it's probably a pretty selfish reason. The second time, more research material, but also they just really caught my attention because what the hell was going on there? And then I followed it. I got in and I followed them until they mummified their cult leader. And then they split into two factions, and I was like, which faction is going to be more interesting? But no, they both got boring. And then the third one, I wanted to know what the hell was happening to these two people I once respected, but took really weird turns. Yeah, and now I'm just bored.
You just bored?
A little bit, yeah.
What do you know what to do?
I don't know. That's what I'm deciding. Well, they're both New Age cults, but one is like we talk to aliens, and the other one's like angels and demons and eating disorders. And I'm like, oh, so I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm a weird person.
Hey,
it's okay. Hey, Batman. So I need your perspective on something.
Hey, what's up?
All right. So I was thinking about themes of the Bible, right? And I'm trying to piece together like some stories that I'm having like a lot of trouble with in my mind, right? Because I keep thinking if I can assign a theme to it, that it'll you know, I always say like I can touch it, but I can't grasp it.
Yeah.
You know what okay. I keep thinking if I can find these themes, these symbolisms that these stories will mean something different to me, or like they'll make more sense to me. And so I've been looking at how absolutely lopsided and terrible God's punishment seemed and how far from just they seem. And people can argue with me all they want, but the truth is, in the story of Abraham, it's Abraham that gives up on his promise. It's Sarah that gives up on God's promise. It's them that conspire, and their servant goes along with it, but she's the servant, what she's supposed to do. But who pays for this? Who pays for this? Right? Abraham's sons are both blessed, but it's poor Hagar dying in the desert, right? It's the guy who tries to save the ark from hitting the ground who obliterates himself, right? Then just over the girl who turns around, who gets turned into a pillar of salt just over and over again. But then at the same time, so I thought, okay, maybe it's like this symbolism of like the least how do I say it? Like the most innocent one in the situation. Like maybe it's like a sacrifice sort of foreshadowing kind of thing, right? But then I thought that doesn't work. And the reason I think that doesn't work is because you have like the most terrible people who just don't get punished at all. Like David. David doesn't get punished. He wants to marry the king's daughter, right? And the king's like, no, if you want to marry my daughter, you come back with 100 Philistine foreskins. And he did this because he didn't want him to marry the daughter. Does David come back with 100 Philistine foreskins? No, he comes back with 200. You think he got those peacefully? You think he was nice? No, that's not how that went down. So he comes back with 200 and he's king. And that's still not good enough. He's still got to kill some guy in battle, steal his wife, all kinds of other stuff, right? But he is a man after God's own heart. Right. And you see this over and over and over and over and over again. And why? Why? What is the theme there?
It's the idea that despite everyone's shittiness and downsides, he's looking at he's willing to work with them. I mean,
okay, but it doesn't fit with the other thing, is what I'm saying. If that's true, then why does dude obliterate himself from trying to prevent the ark from falling? Why is it Hagar who gets punished in the desert? Right? Why does she get punished at all? Why is her punishment way worse than the culpable parties if this is about grace? If this is about grace, shouldn't she have received the most mercy? What is the theme?
So okay, so there's a few different things that you're bringing up, and each and every one of those things have to be held in context, because like those are just some of the things. There are other things that are even more heinous, that in my opinion, that some
I know some of them I don't even want to say out loud, but
yeah.
Yeah.
But but at the end of the day, by nature of by nature of these people not meeting the mark, right? The fact that them not being destroyed, for example, is seen as God showing them grace. Because if you look at a lot of these people, for example, the ones who repent, right? They always thank God, for example, for not destroying them one way or the not, sometimes not directly, right? They do it through their repentance processes and stuff like that. A matter of fact, there are situations when certain characters would break certain rules, right? And God would allow it. For example, David broke a lot of ritualistic rules when he wore the high priest vest, when he basically raided the bread that the high priest uses.
Look, I'm
for
thinking he broke all the rules from day one. Thou shalt not murder was, 200 Philistine foreskins, 200. He didn't get that peacefully.
I mean, I don't know how he got them, but David's initial army that he came up with, it wasn't a bunch of Israelites. It was a bunch of dudes from different quote unquote nations, right? Who just believed in him and whatever he had to do, and they joined him. So, I don't know if it was violence or if he got those foreskins through those men, for example, deciding to convert to becoming an Israelite, because Gentiles are allowed to convert to becoming a Jew.
So which theme
right?
is more important then? Because you say I get the whole grace thing, right? I get I can work with the worst of you. That's obviously represented in Saul's conversion to Paul, right? But if there's grace for the worst of them, why is grace so remarkably absent for those with less choice?
Well, when you say grace, right, how God shows grace is that he shows it in multiple different ways. Like, take for example, the Ishmael and his mom and his mother, right? A lot of people read that part of the story that didn't look at the other part of it, where they basically became a nation. God took care of them.
Well, so did Isaac. That's what I'm saying. Isaac
Yeah.
became a nation. Ishmael became a nation. Abraham and Sarah are off the hook. That doesn't save Hagar. None of that saves Hagar. The servant, who did not magically stop believing in God's promise, but was invited to do this thing by people she was the servant of, right? None of this saves Hagar. That's what I'm saying. So where was her mercy and grace? I mean, you take Abraham, Sarah, and Hagar, and she's probably the most innocent among them. So where was her grace? Great, her son has a nation. Abraham's son has a nation. Where does that leave Hagar?
No, she benefited from it. I mean, she's literally called. I don't remember what specific nation they eventually turned into. But she's
I don't
considered
care
the
what it
mother of
turns
that.
into or how they venerated her. I mean,
Yeah.
in her life, she is banished in a desert on her own. Abraham and Sarah aren't on their own.
No,
they're not on their own. No, she is. She is on her own and banished when she cries out to the Lord to save them. She sure does. And it's not Abraham. It's not Abraham or Sarah that cry out to save her. They don't care. They banished her and threw her in the desert. Basically, left her to die for something she didn't even do. But who earns God's favor in that situation? It's not Hagar. It's Abraham and Sarah.
Yeah, I mean, there's two ways you can look at it, right? Because Hagar is privy to the blessing that God offered to Abraham and Sarah based on their faith, right? And it's a situation where it was a requirement for her to also trust God, right? In that God is going to deliver on what He promised to them, right?
And
But
Dina,
because she
what happens
partook,
with Dina is crazy. We keep up.
she partook in Abraham and Sarah's unfaithfulness, right? And as a result, they ended up getting
No. I'm not letting anybody off that easy. She's a servant. This is not a next door neighbor they invited in. This is not, little Sammy Joe's baseball coach or little Susie's teacher, right? This is Sarah's servant. Let's be honest and say that she was coerced.
I mean, coerced how? Because they couldn't. It's not like a situation. It was a situation where she didn't have a choice.
Define choice. Exactly how could you beat your servants again, particularly if they weren't of the same nationality as you?
Those laws didn't even apply at that time, right? But even then, right? Hey,
So there was no
Sarah,
limit because, everything they've done, every law they've put down has been to prevent something. Don't go kill your kids, right? Why? Because people before that were killing their kids. They were sacrificing them. Don't do this. Why? Because people are doing it. So don't beat your servants so harshly probably means they could beat them even worse. Like, it's not helping the picture here. This is a very we like to look at it like as if we're there ourselves, right? But that's rose-colored glasses. They're living in a very violent, brutal, superstitious, and tribal time period. And you want me to think, as a servant, she was not coerced into this?
yeah. I mean, because she would benefit from long term from providing an heir, right?
That doesn't mean it's not coercion. Just because she
No.
benefits from it doesn't mean it's something she would have done, like,
But that's what I'm saying.
voluntarily.
No, that's what I'm saying, right? By her son being heir, right? Being the firstborn, the person who would inherit everything, right? She now gets a special position within that community, right? And
The
she's going
community
to
she was
benefit.
exiled from, or the community they built after, or she was accepted into after, I
No, no,
guess
no,
I'd
no,
say.
no. I'm saying if it's, let's just say for whatever reason Isaac wasn't born, right? Just hypothetically, right? She and Ishmael was the one to inherit everything, right? She would benefit from from it economically. She'll benefit from it in terms of status, like whatever that a woman would get from that time, being the
Yes,
mother of
that's
the king,
coercion. That's still
would benefit.
coercion. It's still coercion.
Well,
It's like, do you want to benefit from this, or do you want to possibly get beat? Or do you want them to beat you over the head with this every day until you cave? Like,
well,
what are your options there?
the problem,
It's still coercive.
the problem is that you're reading that into it, right? You're reading,
No, I'm
or
not.
else.
What I'm
Hold on.
saying is,
Hold on, just 1 second, right? You're assuming that the relationship of a servant, right, is one where servants, for example, don't have a choice to do certain things or to say no, right? A servant doesn't
that's not what
equal
I'm
like
saying.
a
That's not what I'm
slave.
saying. I'm not even saying that she was necessarily afraid of them, right? That's not what I'm saying. But I'll even move it closer in the timeline. I'll make it slightly less tribal, slightly less superstitious, and only slightly less violent, but still very much all of those things. Let's go to the medieval period, okay? The queen's handmaiden could say no, sure, but that meant that life wasn't going to be easy. Did she have to fear for her life? No. Was she going to be beaten? Probably not. Was she going to be made very uncomfortable? Absolutely. However, if she agreed to be the king's mistress, of course it came with perks and it came with comforts and it made things so much easier. It's still coercive. It's not, I'm doing this because I want to. It's, well, I'll benefit from it versus I'm going to have a really hard time if I don't do this.
Yeah, but you're ignoring the part of coercion where the person who's supposed to be coercing this person has the intent to hurt or harm if the person says no.
I don't care about your intent, and neither does God. That's why David is king, right? That's why David's king, because intent doesn't matter apparently.
Hold on 1 second. So that's what I'm saying, right? Like you're assuming that Abraham and Sarah, right, at that particular point, right, their intent was, if she doesn't do this, then we'll send her away, or
No, you keep saying that I'm saying that, and I'm not saying that. I am
no, I'm
saying
not
by
saying.
the very nature that she is a servant, she is answering to people that can either reward or punish her in various ways. Maybe not physically, maybe not by exile, maybe just by simple ways in which they treat or dismiss her or make her daily life more uncomfortable. Maybe it's more responsibilities. Maybe it's nothing at all. But they still have the power in the situation. And she still has to decide whether this is going to hurt her or benefit her. But none of this is her idea. None of it. It is all coercion, period. Even in the nicest way possible, it is coercion.
So the problem with that, right, is that if you were to apply your example in the typical everyday job setting, right, like almost every single time your boss tells you to do something, right, or even make a suggestion.
No. We're not gonna compare window curtains to apples here, okay? My boss telling me to turn in my spreadsheet at a certain time is not my boss telling me my wife is too old to have a baby, so I'm gonna fuck you, okay? Like, that's not the same thing.
They're not the same thing, right? But I'm applying it to this particular situation for a reason, right? You either coercion either has set parameters and circumstances to where it is or it isn't, right? And the what you have to establish in coercion, right, is that you have to establish not necessarily one person having power or control over another person, right? The ability to do something if another person doesn't do something.
No,
Right?
it's two people. You not only does one person have power over you, but the other person has power over both of you, especially in
I'm
that
just
culture
saying.
and society.
I'm just saying for the sake of the explanation, right? It doesn't matter if it's one or two or three people, right? My point is that if a group of people come up to you and say, "Hey, eat this flaming hot chip," right? Now, you haven't made a decision yet, right? They haven't told you what would happen, right? If you don't eat the hot chip, they just come to you and say, "Hey, eat this hot chip."
Right, but at this point, we're getting lost in the weeds. Because I could even say Dina. What happened to Dina in the Bible's really messed up, right? The point I'm trying to figure out is, what is the theme? Because so far I've got two themes. Neither of them seem prominent, and they just cancel each other out, and that can't be possible, right? You can't just be canceling themes out. So what is the theme?
What is the theme of, like, the Bible has multiple themes? You mean like the overarching theme of
I mean, in the
whole
pattern,
story?
in the lopsided pattern of wrath.
So
What is the theme?
so are we talking about God's wrath, or are we talking
Yeah,
about like the
okay, if
overarching
God is
narrative?
just, okay, first of all, just and mercy, there's a point where those two can't coexist. And I see these stories explore that, right? In, like you said, in the way there's this God can work with the worst of them. It's why David's king. It's why Saul turns into Paul, blah, 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 blah. I get it. Where that starts to fall apart, though, is that if it's meant to display his grace and his mercy, then why does it only extend to the worst? And why is it remarkably absent in those who require so much less mercy and grace?
Well,
And
the
that's where
problem.
it starts to
Okay, so I see
fall
what you're
apart to
saying
me.
now. I see what you're saying now. Okay, the problem is that you're only focusing on those people, right? Because there
No,
are
it's a
people.
pattern. My problem is it's enough people that it's a pattern.
Hold on, but the problem that you run into, right, is that you have plenty of individuals in the Bible where those things don't apply to, right? Where a random person, okay, so take for example, right, a soldier from another nation who's hostile to the nation that God rules over. God tells his prophet to go to this guy and go and heal him. Now, this guy, there was nothing, it didn't say anything about his character. It didn't say anything about, whether or not he's a bad person or not, right? But he's not of that nation and he's an enemy soldier, right? And the prophet goes and heals this man. No ifs, ands, and buts. The man celebrated, right? He thanked the prophet or whatever, right? And he, I believe he asked for some dirt or whatever so he can take back to his homeland, and he's going to spread the news or whatever, right? Like we don't know exactly why God particularly picked that guy. Now you can know why God would send the prophet to do certain things. It might not give a direct explanation right away, but when you read further in the story, you'll see that same story being brought back up in another context to explain something. So David, for example, right? David, like most people, is probably, he's done some horrible things. A matter of fact, right? There's certain things that God did that was not typical, right? When a king, for example, breaks certain rules, when he got that man killed, technically David, right, should be put on trial, right, and probably be put to death, right? And if he wants to repent, he has to go to the high priest and repent and go through a process of repentance, right? None of that happened. It was the prophet Nathan that interceded for David. Like he begged God to not kill David. And God said, okay, I'm not going to kill you, but this is what's going to happen as a result of the decision that you've made. Right? So,
right, but
he doesn't take a black and white approach to all of these situations.
Well, and that's why I'm having. See, that's why it doesn't fit to me, because that makes sense to me if I single out certain characters, right? That's why I'm having trouble. If I single out certain characters, then that theme makes sense, right? We have David, we have Saul turning to Paul, we have Jonah being stubborn as hell, and God being like, no, you're going to do this whether you like it or not, even if you don't like the results, right? We have all that, and that seems to make sense. But it stops making sense when you bring in the other people.
So, okay, use this for example. Let's use Jonah and another prophet, right? This is a nameless prophet. His name wasn't given. So you have Jonah. He hates the Ninevites, right? And God wants him to go do a job. God basically forces him to go and do the job, right? Now you have this other prophet where God empowers, right? He can do some cool stuff, like a king. The evil Israeli king reached out to him. His hand withered, and that's how much power that prophet had. And the prophet interceded and healed the king's hand, and God told the prophet, "Hey, listen. Go this direction, keep walking, and don't stop." Right? If you do, you're gonna die pretty much, right? And so what happened to that prophet? Basically, another man pretending to a prophet tricked him, and as a result of him being tricked, right, he didn't listen to God, and he ended up dying as a result.
Oh, I have a
right?
question. Oh, sorry. I have a question. What do you think of this? Lady Aiden and Lady Clay.
Clay's an ugly dude. He's an even uglier girl. GG, if you're ready to shut down
Oh,
anytime,
shotgun?
just say the word, because I know I don't want to keep you up, past your bedtime. But if you want to keep going, that I'm all for it.
One more thing. What did you have to ask Zedin? You said you need to ask Sandman something.
No, I was just hoping to hear some wise words of wisdom from Sandman tonight.
You have. That's why you haven't heard anything.
Damn, bro, I ain't gotta do Sandman like that.
It could have been my mom, and I would have still said it.
I'll just top off the hopefully top off the conversation between me and Pixie.
Look,
Gigi has to go. So I'm just saying, like in Jonah's case, right? Again, the parts where we don't talk about, God tries to reason and help Jonah, right? And Jonah, and to some extent, you can argue that God kind of trolled him, right? But Jonah was so angry, right, at the fact that these people that he hates so much are going to live because God decided to have mercy on them if they decided to repent, right? That he would rather die as a result, and God allowed him to die, right? Whereas the other prophet, right? He didn't
Yes
turn.
and no. I agree with what you said, but let's be fair. God's allowance for your free will only goes so far. Did he allow him to die? Sure. But did he allow him to not go minister? Nuh-uh. That's what the fish was for.
Yeah, I mean, he technically Jonah even died in that fish, and he got brought back to life. That's how much God wanted him to do that job. Because if he didn't do the job, right, those people wouldn't have repented, right? They
Yeah, but
wouldn't have
that's what I'm
gotten the
saying. Your
message.
free will only goes so far to God. Jonah was like,
Yeah,
I don't care, let him die. And God was like, fish.
yeah. But like the other prophet, right, the super powerful, he decides that he's just going to do his own thing, and he ends up dying, right? He ends up getting killed by a lion, a random lion out of nowhere. And to make it even more poignant that God had something to do with it, you saw the lion standing beside the donkey that that the prophet was riding, because that prophet was disobedient. Right now, it's probably a situation where, to me, it comes down to God's perspective as to how he chooses to handle certain things, whether it's severely or peacefully or just not even touch certain things. But in terms of God's overall wrath, right? There's two ways you can look at it. You have his wrath in terms of like a direct interaction, and you have the wrath at the end of days, basically, right? Where which is going to result in the destruction of people. Now, when you hear Christians talk about God's wrath, and even Jews sometimes, a lot of the times, for the most part, they're referring to God's wrath overall, right? The one at the end of the story that's going to result in sinners dying and being thrown in the lake of fire or whatever, right? And the idea is that Jesus's sacrifice is supposed to abate that wrath and give you the opportunity, right, to give you a second or third or whichever chance to basically avoid experiencing God's wrath through changing your life and whatever Jesus said.
I'll tell you why the cohesiveness of this matters so much to me right now. And like I said, I would feel the same way if this was a book written by Stephen King. I would be mad at Stephen King right now. Actually, I would be like, "What did you do?" And I would be like, "I want answers." So my problem is if I can't make it cohesive, then it just seems arbitrary, so arbitrary that rather than God showing favor, it seems to show anybody who one was considered to be favored. And I've always said that I've never seen God talking to man. I've always seen man building God, right? The reason that cohesiveness matters is because I think there's some tiny little part of me that still wants to see God talking to man. And if I can't find it, even a little bit of it, if it is all just arbitrary and this person who doesn't need much grace gets zero grace, and this person who needs all the mercy in the world gets all the mercy, right? Like these things are not cohesive. And without it, it just seems like more petty human stuff. I'm trying really hard.
I mean, it's interesting.
I don't.
Like, so the cohesion to me is getting the cohesion to me is looking at these multiple circumstances, because there's a lot of situations you have to take into consideration in isolation in light of the overall context of things, right? And so I get what you're saying. If it's a situation where you're only looking at specific circumstances, you're only going to realize a particular pattern. Like if you go to church and the only thing you hear in church is all the good stuff God is doing, but you never hear about, all the quote unquote bad stuff that God does, like God punishes, God destroys.
It's not about the good and the bad. It's about how it's applied.
No. I get what you're saying. I'm just saying
it's very lopsided.
Yeah, I mean, some people would argue, right, that God is God hates the Israelites because he uses other nations to destroy them. Like, for example, he's used Babylon, he's used Assyria, he's empowered the Persians. Like he's using all these other nations, right, to punish these people in extremely severe ways, right? But when you talk to these people who are incensed that God uses other nations to punish them, right? You look at the stuff that the Israelites were doing, they were doing things that are way worse than their neighbors.
The best I could come up with is that there's two competing themes, right? Like not competing themes, but two over parallel themes, I guess.
In regards to God's wrath, right?
Right. Well,
just
not just wrath, but I would say like the idea of God's justice overall, wrath versus grace. I guess it would, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the best I can come up with, which is still failing, and I'll tell you why after, is that there's two parallel themes. One that is, I can work with the best of you, the least of you. I can make the least of you the best of you, right? Like I can do that. And then the other underlying, I'm sorry. Was Ghost
sorry about
talking?
that. You guys keep on talking, but I have to end the show. Thank you everybody for coming on. You can talk in the back.
GG.
No problem. Thank you, Ghost.
You're welcome. Sorry about that. Thank you, Sandman. Thank you, everyone. Everybody.
Thank you, Gigi, and everybody.
Take care, little buddy.
Take care.
Yeah, if anybody wants to jump in, click the link, and I'll let you in. I can do that. I just can't shut